All right, man. I am so excited for this interview. Today, I'm going to interview somebody that if I never met him across my journey in life, I don't think I'm sitting where I'm sitting. I have here my former trainer when I used to box a little bit for like a couple years. He also a retired police officer, also a two-time New York Golden Glove champion, and he is also Dominican.
You forgot a couple of things. I'm a two-time Junior Olympics champion, two-time kick gloves champion, one-time Metropolitan champion, one-time Spanish glove champion. We skipped all those.
My bad.
Because I'm going back now to back in the early years, you know?
And he's Dominican, so this letting you know there was Dominican boxing in New York for a very long time. Felipe Gomez.
Para que lo sepan, el que no lo sabe.
Felipe Gomez, thank you so much for being here.
Listen, thank you for inviting me, man. It's an honor being here, man. I have a lot of respect for you. You got a lot of stuff going on, and listen, one of the things that I always said that you're gonna make it big. You got a lot of goals in life, and I know you're gonna go far, man. Thank you for having me here.
No, man. And honestly, I can attribute that to you because you were one of the people that I felt like in my life that was really encouraging. Like, nah, you got this. Like, even sometimes I would spar and I wouldn't do so good. You never try to like make me feel bad. It was always trying to lift me up, always trying to put me in position, always looking out for me. And that's something I never forgot. You know, I remember you used to charge everybody a certain price at the gym. You knew I ain't have money. You go, bro, you still got to pay, but just paid less. I remember all of that. And I want to thank, I've told you in private a lot, thank you.
No, you did.
And I want to tell you in public, thank you so much for everything you did for me, my brother.
Now, listen, man, it was an honor having you in the gym. You and your brother were great. You guys were always friendly, outgoing. And then on top of that, believe it or not, I mean, I don't know if anybody ever told you. I used to tell you guys, but you guys had talent, and I don't know why you left it. You and your brother, because even your brother was, even though he was a little heavy, he was bigger, but he had some good skills, and you had skills, and I wish you guys would have kept up with it, but that's part of life. It happens. You move on in life, you do other things, and like I did in my life. And you just choose a different path. But listen, when it comes to the gym, when you were saying about, doing the right thing for the fighters and when I started boxing, I couldn't afford a boxing gym. And I went to a lot of places where they didn't allow me to go in the gym because I couldn't afford it. I couldn't pay for it. And I was blessed when I was able to find Starrett City Boxing Club back in my younger days. And Jimo, who was, his soul rest in peace, who passed away, he let me in and he took me under his wings, and it was for free. The gym was for free. If I didn't go to his gym for free, I would have never been where I've been at right now, to be honest with you. So
okay. All right.
I mean, I know we're gonna talk about that.
I was gonna say. I was trying to let you get your point off, and I was like, let's go in order.
But I always try to do the right thing for people because I know how it is, man. I know financially it's tough, man. So that's why I always try to do the right thing for them.
And you did the right thing, at least by me. I can't speak about nobody else. I'm sure there was other people who have similar stories that I have. But for me, you definitely looked out, and it's definitely appreciated. Even now, 15 years down the line, I still appreciate it, man. All right.
Okay, man. You're always welcome, brother.
All right. Well, so you are Dominican. We already mentioned that. Were you born in DR or were you born in New York?
No, so I was born in Brooklyn. My mother, so I'll tell you how a quick story. I'm the first one out of four, the oldest. My mother was pregnant she told me the story. So she was from Jarabacoa. My father was from Bonao. But she was raised in La Capital. Pero she was pregnant with me. I think she was like 6 months, 7 months, something like that. And she said that she had a small belly. So when she was pregnant with me, it didn't show as much. So she said she came to the U.S. when back then there was strict where if you were pregnant, you wasn't supposed to get on flights, especially when you was that far ahead in pregnancy. So I think she said like 8 months, maybe it could have been 8 months. It was close to her giving birth. And she said she got on a plane, she came, and she gave birth to me in New York, in Brooklyn. So, I'm barely...
You just made it to New York.
I just made it to New York. I just became a citizen by this little bit.
And you guys end up staying like forever after that?
Yeah, after that, She came. My father brought her over. We stayed, and then all the kids, my siblings, we all born and raised here.
How many siblings you have?
So from my mother,
All right. I'm Dominican too, bro. I understand that. Listen, every Dominican watching that understood that little fumble right there. We understood that.
You get that little fumble because
I know. Believe me, I know.
Our old school parents back in the days, they were all over the place, and so my father, he with my my mother, and my father, between them two was just four of us, But aside from my mother, there's like maybe three other brothers, four other siblings.
From four other women?
From two different women.
From two different women.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. And you were raised in East New York, Brooklyn. Right?
East New York, Brooklyn.
So this was around the 80s and 90s you were raised?
So I was born in 72. I was raised from 70,
from the
70s to 80s.
Wow. So you grew up in East New York, Brooklyn in the 70s and 80s?
Yep.
Could you tell me?
And 90s. I stayed there to the 90s.
Okay. So tell me the evolution from the 70s to the 90s in East New York, Brooklyn.
I mean, from the 70s kind of tough because I was very young.
Yeah, you were a baby.
But I do remember, some stuff. But I definitely could tell you about the 80s, man. I mean, coming up in the 80s, it was all burnt houses everywhere. It was crazy walking the streets. Back in the days, there was drugs everywhere. And every corner you turned, there was people selling drugs. It was crazy, man. It was a lot of crimes, and I remember all this because I seen all of that.
But give me an example of some crimes you've witnessed.
No, listen. Aside from me being a victim.
Okay, give me one where you were a victim.
Aside from me being a victim, being robbed. I was a little bit older, but I got robbed when I was younger. Obviously, when you grew up in East New York and you walk around the neighborhood, you're always gonna run into groups who's out there committing robberies, And unfortunately, I got robbed a couple of times. Unfortunately for the robbers, I had nothing for them to take from me. So I grew up poor, man. So when they picked me as a target, they wasn't getting nothing. But you always had like a little chain, something like this, a little ring. Unfortunately, I didn't have like. Name brand sneakers, jeans.
So attempted robbery.
Attempted robbery. Yeah. What you got? I'm like, I got nothing. So
what about?
But I did witness a lot of robberies.
What about acts of violence? Shootings, stabbings.
I seen shootings. I seen stabbings. Listen. When I was younger, right now by the I don't know if you're familiar with the mall back there, right on
Gateway Mall.
On Gateway Mall.
Yeah, I know.
Prior to Gateway Mall. That was all a dump, all right? And when I was younger, me and my friends used to ride bikes, and we used to go to the back. We always used to love going back there and riding bikes because it was like, in the back there was it's like a dump place, and it had a lot of up hills and stuff like that. So we like riding bikes there. I used to walk, I used to see dead bodies. Literally riding a bike, you see dead bodies. But you're raised in Brooklyn, you've seen these type of things, and it's like you're not at first when you first see you're shocked, but then after when you're seeing it so often, you're like, wow, people getting beat up, when I get into crazy detail, but you see a lot of messed up stuff back in the days, and I saw a lot of dead bodies back then. And I remember riding a bike, seeing a dead body, going back, getting my friends like, yo, come see, and we go right back.
That's a scene out of a movie, bro. Boys in the Hood.
It's crazy that I'm, that I see these things on the movies, and I actually went through stuff like that. People don't really understand what I seen, what I went through. I should be a person that should be mentally ill right now from all the stuff that I witnessed and and that I actually experienced in life.
Damn. Well, it's funny. You actually lived right next to the 75th precinct, and if you're from Brooklyn or from New York City, really, that precinct, I think still to this day is one of the highest crime areas in all of New York City. Talk to me about living next to the 75th precinct in its heyday in terms of crime.
It was crazy. I used to live, so my house was literally next to the precinct. So it's right on Exeter Street. So they have the entrance where the cars go in and they park. That was the back entrance to the precinct. And never forget, my sister and I used to always run like early in the morning. I mean, whatever. Most of the day, it was mostly me. We used to run to the kitchen, in the back kitchen window, and we used to look to the back, and we used to see the back entrance of the precinct, and we used to see these cops going in there with prisoners. It was crazy because, the stuff that you witnessed, back then, and 75 had a little history. So, back then they used to take those prisoners in there, and you see all the beatdowns, you see all the, the fights going in there, like guys, resisting, trying to go in there, So as a little kid, me and my sister watching all this, I'm like, wow, man, I used to love it. I used to see the cops come in uniform. I'm like, man, I used to love it. I used to tell my sister, man, I said, when I grow up, I want to be a cop. And my sister was like, you know what? When I grow up, I want to be a cop too. So we used to sit in the windows. These cops used to wave to us from the back. It was great, man. It was great,
That's so interesting.
It was great. But, unfortunately, I didn't have a great experience with police officers, even though I wanted to be a cop. But, it was.
What type of problems did you have with the police?
Let me give you one. I mean, as much as I love cops, and I'm a retired sergeant from the police department. I went. I'm not gonna say that I hate the cops because I love the police. Yeah. But back then, as much as I loved them, I used to hate them. Unfortunately, because they didn't know how to treat people, and obviously you see the changes now. There's a lot of changes, so there's a lot of changes to the better. As much as people think it's bad, it's not bad. It's a lot to the better. But back then, man, I'll give you a quick story. One of the turnoff and one of the stuff that really that turned me against the police officer was that my father. I was a young kid, man, and my father and I'm in the car. My sister, my father. It's my father, me, and my sister in the car waiting for my mother to come down from her apartment, from the apartment, and she's locking the door. A cop, one of the police officers pulled up behind them, and they start honking, doing the whoop whoop, so you can move. And my father, is putting his hands out, saying, "Wait," he's pointing to my mother. I'm waiting for my wife. She's coming down. And so they whoop him again so he can move. And he's like, 1 minute. Now my mother's crossing the street, coming into the car, and they jumped out of the car. They approached him. Man, let me tell you, they started cursing him out. They told him to get out of the car. He didn't want to get out because he didn't do anything wrong. He was just waiting for my mother. They beat the living shit out of him. Sorry for the but they beat him up so bad, and they pulled him out of the car, beating him in the ground. Imagine this is in the maybe late 70s, early 80s. So you, as a young kid, you're looking at this and you're like, I'm crying, screaming, me and my sister.
So you're 8, 9 years old.
Yeah, I'm somewhere around 8, 9 years, somewhere around there, between 8, 11.
8 to 10.
Yeah, somewhere
11,
around there.
Yeah.
And I'm witnessing these guys beating the shit out of him, stomping him, kicking him, all these cops hitting him with a nightstick. Then they cuff him. And then they drag him into the precinct. One guy grabbed one leg, the other guy grabbed the other leg, and they just dragged him on the floor into the precinct. And they locked him up because he was blocking the street. And he comes out with a summons. They gave him a disorderly conduct summons. So, they didn't even charge. So they beat the shit out of him and gave him a summons and let him go.
Wow. So policing was different back then.
Back then, yeah. Back then, whenever they tell you to do something, you do it.
Well, it's funny, again, we mentioned the 75th precinct, how infamous it is for having high crime in the area. It's also infamous for Michael Dowd being a corrupt cop. You ever have any run-ins with him?
Listen, I never, because I was younger, so fortunately I never had any run-ins with him specifically, but as growing up and being in the neighborhood, I saw these cops. You see them. When I'm watching the documentary, I'm like, what? I remember all those faces, and I remember one specific story many years ago. I was a young kid. They locked up a guy, one of the neighborhood drug dealers, and they grabbed him. They raided the corner. They jumped. They beat everybody up. They locked this kid up, and this guy up. Next thing you know, he's walking out. I'm like, what the fuck? And then I see one of the guys say, wait, what the fuck? Didn't they just lock you up for drugs? He goes, yeah, they stole all my money and they took all my drugs and my cash. I'm like, what the fuck?
Wow.
Yeah, it was crazy. It was crazy, man.
Yo, this was some next level thing. So
I mean, I don't really like talking about stuff like that, but
it's the truth.
But fortunately, this is what happened. I mean, the job changed a lot. The police department changed a lot. It's not like as crazy as it used to be. But back then it was. Listen, they used to pull me over for. Let me tell you another quick story. So now I'm in boxing. I'm fast forwarding a little bit, but let me tell you a quick story. Where I'm, so one day I pulled out. I leave my mother's house. I get in my mother's car. I'm driving to the gym. I used to go. I'm going to Star City. I'm about 18 years old, and so now I'm in the car and I got my boxing equipment in the trunk, and all of a sudden I get pulled over by two anti-crime guys. And then next they pull me out at gunpoint. They got the guns out. Get out of the car. I'm like, what the fuck? So I get out of the car. They got me. They tore, like checking my, to see if I have anything on me. They're checking the car. I mean, they literally taking out the back seat. They literally ripped up the back seat looking for stuff. They went through everything inside the car. They opened up my trunk. They opened the trunk up and they took my bag out. They took my boxing glove, all the stuff that I had in the bag. They took everything out. Then the guy behind me like, "Where's the drugs? Where's the guns?" So I'm like, "What?" I said, "Listen," I said, "I don't use drugs. I'm a boxer." I said, "And I don't need a gun. This is my gun right here, my fist." So then I said, yeah. So then I turned around and I told the guy behind me, I said, "Tell me the real reason why you pulled me over." My man, he grabbed my head, bumped my head against the car, and gave me a knot in my eye, and I started crying from the anger. So he goes, "You speak when you're asked to speak." And then he turned around and he goes, "Oh, look at the baby crying." So I'm like this now. So now I'm clenching my fist because I'm so angry. And I'm like, I said, "This motherfucker." I'm like saying to myself, "I'm gonna knock this dude out." I said, because I know once I hit him, I'm gonna put him out. Because I'm a boxer. And, I was known for knocking people out. So I'm like, I just gotta put one hook in his jaw and he's out. And I was like this, and he's like, "Oh, look at the little baby. Oh, you're going to punch me?" He said, "You're going to punch me? Go ahead, take your best shot." And something got into him. It must have been God, man. I said, something said to me, "Don't do it. You're going to hit him, you're going to knock him out, and you're going to get your ass kicked, and then your whole life is going to be destroyed." And I just ate it up, and I let it go. Wow. I let it go. But I ran into him later on in the academy.
Wow. Oh, hold on. You got to finish that story. You ran into him in the academy?
So then, I said, my motto was, even though I wanted to be a cop, I looked up to them. I kind of hated the cops then after that because, we're going through a lot of, bad experience.
Yeah.
And then that same day, I said to myself, you know what? If you can't beat them, you join them. That was my exact word. If you can't beat them, you join them. But I didn't mean it like in a malicious way. I meant, like, if I go in there, maybe I can make a change, man. Which I did. We could touch that. We could touch on that later on. But I said, let me go in there. Maybe I could make a change and make some of these people understand some of these. And for the funny thing is, it was a white cop and a black cop. The guy that banged my head was a black cop. So so it wasn't like it was just white cops. So
it was everybody.
If you wore that uniform, you were a cop.
It was blue versus East New York.
East New York, exactly.
I got you.
So now years later, I become a cop and I graduate, and then I'm going back to the police academy for training, because when you become a cop, you got to go to training. So I never forget. I was walking up the steps to the academy. He was walking down because the academy had one stairs going up and one coming down. So that's the only way you could do, like one. So I'm walking up the stairs. He's walking down, and I looked at him. I said, "Hey, what's going on, bro?" So he turned around and goes, "Hey, what's going on?" So he's saying, "What's up?" to me because he thought he knew me from the police department. Yeah. I said, "Yo, you don't remember me?" Now I'm like 22, 23, a few years later.
And so how old were you when he banged your head?
I was 18.
18, all right.
So I was in the cop, yeah. So, So
I want to know. I want to know, like, the age.
Yeah, so I took the test right after that. So then, so I said, "Hey," I said, "You remember me?" He's like, "Oh, no, I don't know where you work." I said, "No, not where I work." I said, "Where I'm from." I said, you worked in the 7-5 precinct?" He goes, yeah. I said, "Yeah, I was born and raised in East New York, in Brooklyn, right? I lived right next to the 75th precinct." I said, "I'm the guy you pulled over. You remember the guy you pulled over on Pickens Avenue?" I said, "You pulled me out of the car at gunpoint." I said, "Then you banged my head against the car because I asked you why you pulling me over." I said, "You remember?" And he started. I pulled so many people over, and he just kept walking away. I said, yeah. So as he kept walking away, because now he saw that I was, and everybody's, not all the cops were looking like, what the fuck is going on here? I said, yeah. I said, just remember, not everybody in Brooklyn are bad. And then, but that,
wow.
But,
wow. No, thank you for doing that. Thank you for doing that, because I'm from East New York. Now I don't know this cop. I don't know how long his career was.
Oh,
I could have ran into this guy, and he could have done something like that to me. So I appreciate you sending that message to that dude.
But that was the whole goal, man. When I after that incident, I said, let me take the police test. I said, let me and join the police department. I mean, aside from all that, my trainer Jimo back then used to always motivate me. He's like, listen, man, don't just think about boxing. You gotta focus on doing something with life. And, so he used to ask me, what is it you want to do when you grow up? I'm like, yeah, I want to be a cop. So he's like, well, you could be a cop. So he goes, you should, So, but that was one of my goals, man, trying to change the police department. But
right. We'll get into how you tried to change the police department in just a bit. But first, I want to get into how you got into boxing. Let's get into your boxing story, because you were a very successful amateur in boxing, and you mentioned all the tournaments you won, the Spanish gloves, of this, that I forgot to mention on your intro. Talk to me how you got in. How
you didn't know, because I don't really tell people my whole history. But
we getting it now. So talk to me about when you got in, how you got into boxing, and how old were you?
Well, so. Obviously, I grew up in Brooklyn, East New York, and it was rough back then. And, growing up in East New York, you're going to get bullied, man. Like I said, I used to run into kids where they try to rob me. They used to try to bully me, I mean, I tried. I used to get bullied. Listen,
yeah.
It was so bad. The bullying was so bad when I was young that I could tell you right now, like I'm in my 8, 9, 10 years old, 11, 12 years, from like 8 that I could probably remember to like 15 or be 14, 13, before I started boxing. So, I started boxing at 12. So it was like around that 4-year period. At that age, what kid wants to kill himself? What kid thinks about committing suicide? Bro, I wanted to commit suicide. That's how bad it was, the bullying back then. And I'm like, fuck, man, I can't.
What would they do to you?
They'll call you names, they'll slap you, so then I said, you know what? I got to learn how to defend myself, because I was skinny, man. That was the problem. I was so skinny, and then I had like buck teeth, so they used to be like, oh, Felipe, Caleto, like they calling me different names. Then even the kids in the street, like other kids, like in school, I used to get bullied in school. I used to get bullied in the street, in my neighborhood, my own friends in neighborhood. It was tough, man. So I said, you know what? So I got to learn how to do something. I got to learn how to fight. And even though I had that anger in me, and I knew how to, and I was always, like, I always fought, no matter what in school.
Even if you lost, you fought.
Even if I lost. But the funny thing is, I can tell you that I don't recall ever losing. I recall one loss in school, one school fight, and I fought a lot. But I only remember one fight that I lost. And the reason why I consider that a loss was because we were throwing punches. We both hit each other. But he ran into me and grabbed me in a headlock. And that was considered a win for him. So, the teacher came and broke it up. So he had me in a headlock, even though I was hitting him. But so everybody said he beat me because he grabbed me in a headlock. But, back then when you're young, kids don't know any better. But that was the only time that I remember possibly losing as a kid, fighting. And I wasn't even a boxer yet. That's the funny part. So I had that anger in me. So then it's funny because I went to a PAL on Liberty in Pennsylvania. You familiar with that PAL there?
I know. I took the, believe it or not, I took the NYPD test.
Oh, yeah. They do
and the physical was there.
They do the physical there. Yeah. So I went there for karate. I didn't know there was a boxing gym there. There was a good boxing gym there where Junior Jones came out of. Junior Jones, a bunch of good fighters came out of there. And but I went there for karate. And I started on karate, and I didn't like it. And because I wanted something that I wanted to compete. And they weren't in that karate school. They didn't compete. They would just show you how to do, how to defend yourself, do stuff. I'm like, nah, I don't want this. But I didn't know there was a boxing gym there. So anyway, like maybe a year, 2 years later, this guy named Santana. You remember Santana Pilarte?
No, I'm not familiar.
I'm giving Santana some props here because Santana was my motivation to be a boxer. So my father used to work in a cleaners. He used to press clothes. on New Lots and Elton. So Santana was one of the, him and his brother and friend, they all boxers. So Santana came in one time selling tickets for a boxing event. He was an amateur at the time. He was, I'm trying, I got to get everybody to go to my fight. I'm fighting whatever. He was in the finals of like the Spanish clubs or some, back then they had this tournament called the Spanish clubs. And so, I'm like, so I told my father, you want to go? I said, yeah, I want to go. We went to see him. He fought. And then after that, I said, I want to do this. I said, I want to box. I want to compete. I went to a show like in Gleason's or maybe Best Style, like back in the 80s, early 80s. I was like, I want to do this. This is what I want to do. I want to compete. So then when he used to come back by the cleaners, I'm like, Santana, I want to go to the gym. He was, tell your father to take you to Star City. And then, my father said he was going to take me. Like another year, 2 went by. My father never took me. I said, you know what? I said, I'm going. It was me and maybe like 10 of us, cousins and friends. We all walked over to Star City. We walked from East New York.
But what street to? I know where Star City Gym is. From what?
So
street
we walked from X's and Picking there.
X's and Picking all the way to Star City.
All the way to Star City, and then but we took Van Sicklen back. We took Van Sicklen down. The gym was on Pennsylvania, and one of those buildings, like it was high. Like
I've been there.
If you didn't know the gym, you would never find it. So anyway, we walked for over an hour, and it was freezing cold. I never forget that. And then everybody so we said we went to the actual there was a big gymnasium back on Van Sicklen, like Vandalia. Anyway, so we went there. It was the wrong place. They said, it's on the other side. So we kept walking in a circle. So we were all quitting already. We're like, we're done walking. We're just going to go back home. Because now we got another hour walk back home. Yeah. And then I said, no, let's just ask. There was one of those patrol guys from Star City there. I said, let me just go ask him. And we were on Hornell Loop and Pennsylvania. We were on that corner on Pennsylvania. And I said to the guy, excuse me. I said, what's the Star City Boxing Club? He goes, right there. It was literally right there. It was like in a garage. So I'm like, where? I'm like, right there. And I'm looking. I said, that's a garage there. I don't see any. I said, that door. Just go down through that door because the door was closed. He goes, right, go down through that door. That was the gym. Thank God that I stopped to ask him because if I would have never went to the gym.
That's crazy.
That's how it started.
Isn't that crazy how like one moment in your life could have easily changed the whole course of where you went?
These little things that I wish I could see those people to thank them. Like that patrol guy there, that guy that was he was like one of the Star City cops, whatever they are. I wish I knew who he was. So I could tell him, thank you, you saved my life. I tell Santana all the time, Santana, thank you, man, because of you, I became a boxer. And I learned a lot from watching him because he was one of the top fighters in Star City. Okay. So, I went in there. That's how, so I went and started learning boxing because I said, now I'm going to start knocking people out. All that bullying that I'm getting, they're going to feel it. Let me tell you, I made history, my brother. I'm going to tell you some stories.
Yeah, talk to me about the neighborhood. Now you in the box and now you know how to fight. Before you knew you were good at fighting. Now you know how to fight.
Let me rewind a little. Let me tell you about Jimo. Let me tell you because I still got to tell you about the bullying on that sense because I was still young.
Okay.
So I met Jimmy.
This is at 12 years old.
This is like 12 years old, yeah. This is like 85, 84, 85, 86, somewhere around there. I think it was like 85 because I started boxing in 85, I believe. That's when I started really competing.
I got you. 12, 13.
My first fight was in 1986, so I think it was 80. I started in 85.
Okay.
So Jimmy, so I go in, I see Jimmy, I see all these other trainers. And then, but you always got one guy training all the kids, basics, doing stuff. So it was like 12 cousins and friends. We all started boxing, learning how to box. They all started quitting one by one because they all would, every time like, anybody want to spar? We used to volunteer. Oh, and I never got, like every time they used to pick somebody. I'm like, damn, man, I want to get in the ring. All my cousins and friends were getting their asses kicked in the gym, and they were all quitting one by one. They were dropping like flies, bro. I'm like, damn, every time somebody, they went in, they sparred, they never showed up again. I'm like, oh, man. So that's, so then they put me in. I liked it. So I started boxing, and Jimmy is standing there watching. And then, and now I was getting my ass kicked, but on top of getting my ass kicked, I'm got anger, man. I'm getting that anger that I had built up from getting bullied and from being a single, because my father also, at the time my father left us when I was 12. So
okay, so you started boxing at the same time your father
that my father had left. Yeah. Okay. So I had a lot of anger built in because now so going through a lot of tough Christmas because we were poor, so we didn't have good Christmas. We didn't have any. Like every year Christmas came, we didn't have gifts. So we would probably get like one little tiny gift. Like every other year, we'll get like maybe two. It was a very poor, sad Christmas. And I'm like, I used to, I never had Nikes. I never had Adidas. Like back then, people had Adidas, Levi's. So I never had any of that. But long story short, I had all that anger build up from all that coming up, and I was in the ring and Jimmy was watching. And then I'm done sparring, done getting my ass kicked, but I was fighting. And then so Jimmy tells this one guy named Robert Scott. He had won the Golden Gloves. They used to call him Sleepy because he would look sleepy all the time, but he was real good. He was a Golden Glove champion. He told Sleepy, bring him in the office. Jimmy will bring me. So Sleepy brings me in the office. Jimmy goes, hey, what's going on with you, man? You all right? I'm like, yeah. So because Jimmy was one of the guys that wanted to teach you the fundamental about boxing. And if you have anger, you can't box. If you got anger issues, you can't box. And I used to tell you that because you used to do that. I remember you used to get angry, and I'm like, yo, don't get pissed, don't get angry. I used to tell you.
It's funny. I was waiting for you to finish to bring that up. That was one of my problems in the ring. So a lot of times, and something my father brings up too. He goes, "Tú estás haciendo tu boxeo bonito, boxeando, moving." Doing your defense, you get cracked,
and then you lose it.
I forget everything you taught me, and I'm just
my man. I remember that you used to do that. That's why but Jimmy O used to notice that on me. He said, "Listen, you can't get angry because every time you get angry, you're gonna mess up. You're gonna screw it up. You're gonna lose your focus, and you're not gonna do good." Anyway, he goes, "But I like you." He goes, "I like you." He goes, "I'm gonna start training you." And then he took me under his wing, man. After that, everything is history, man. He did, I learned how to box. I became good. I became a good boxer. I started competing very young. I was like 12, and I remember my first fight. I fought a guy that had I have that video somehow. I gotta get it. I mean,
get it. I'll post it.
Listen, the guy was like 15 wins and like 1 or 2 losses. Here I am, my first.
This is your amateur debut.
My amateur debut. I get my ass kicked, bro. I was getting beat up from pole to pole, but I didn't get stopped. But I was fighting. I fought and I lost the decision. And Jimmy was proud of me. I'm like looking at Jimmy. I'm like, why are you so happy? You go, man.
I just lost.
I said, Jimmy, I just got my ass kicked. Yeah, but you don't understand. He goes, you fought. He goes, you fought your ass off. That was it. You fought your ass off. That was his favorite word. It goes, you fought your ass off, and he goes, and the guy that's the guy that had won the Junior Olympics a couple of times in kid gloves. I'm like, what? I'm like, Jimmy. I'm like, what are you doing to me? He goes, don't worry. He goes, you fought, and he goes, you did well. He goes, so he was proud of me. But then I got my rematch a year later, and I fought him, and I beat the shit out of this kid. But but going back, so now I learned how to box. So now I'm in the streets, going to school, still getting bullied. But guess what? Now I'm fighting back. So, 2, 3 kids come up to me, boom, bam, I'm knocking them out with one punch. Right hand, hook. I hit, I'll literally do this. I'll turn around, hit right hand, knock the one guy there, and then I come back with a hook, boom, hit the other guy on this side. One punch knockouts. That's what I was doing in street fights.
So you was doing this consistently.
Consistently, when street fights happen,
you would knock people out with one shot.
One punch knockout. And all my friends, they'd be like, oh, this guy was crazy. He was knocking people out with one punch, so... But thank God that I learned how to box. But I was this skinny, and then I started building a rep from knocking people out. That people were like, don't fuck with Felipe. You can fight. But then they realized that I was boxing. Then I started getting. And after that, I started building a lot of friends. Like people started following because they saw, this guy can fight. He's he's a boxer.
So let's support the boxer from the neighborhood.
So now they started supporting me. Yeah. So and then even in high school, they used to write about me in high school, like on the paper and the high school.
The high school newspaper.
And then I used to come out in the daily news for the Golden Gloves, and then the kid gloves. They used to do with the kid gloves. So people started reading about me like, oh shit. So I earned the respect from that. Yeah. But it was good. That was one of my best moments in life, learning how to box and coming back and knocking all these bullies.
Man, I can only imagine the feeling of you just popping dudes with one shot in the street.
And now, because you see it happen and you see them drop and you're like, oh my God. And I'm like, I'm this skinny. I'm like, oh my, I did that?
Were you knocking out big guys like 6'1", 6'5"?
Listen, I knocked out so many guys. And I unfortunately, you know.
How many knockouts how many knockouts in the street you had?
I'm gonna tell you right now, I probably had one fight that's a regular street fight that I knocked the guy out, and I beat him so bad that he literally turned around. My cousin, to this day, they be saying the story when we get together. Oh, Phil, remember the time you beat up this guy and you beat him so bad that he literally turned around and ran away? That was the only guy that I didn't knock out. I did not.
But how many people in the street you knocked out? How many? Just give me a number. It don't got to be exact.
Honestly, I've because it's a lot. It's
30.
More than 30.
50?
I had to be between. Listen, I'm talking about from my childhood to 70?
How about? Tell me the number.
I was a little old. I was still knocking people out.
Tell me the number. 50, 70?
It's definitely got to be close to the hundreds.
Hundreds? You knocked out.
80s and one punch. I was known for the one. They used to call, everybody knew me for that one punch, and it was always the left hook.
Wow.
And then towards the end, I started to get scared because I remember one time I got into a street fight and I hit this guy with a hook. He dropped. He went like this. He dropped like this, and he started trembling. And I'm like, oh my God! I said, I killed this guy. Everybody, oh my God, you killed him. And then he came through. I'm like, I'm gonna stop that. And then I started hitting people to the body because I was known for the left body hook. I used to drop people in the
boxing gym with the body. In the street, it was in the head, but
yeah. But then I said, you know what? Let me start hitting people to the body. So I started hitting people with body shots and knocking them out with body shots.
How many body shot knockouts?
No, in between all the
you including those two.
Yeah, I'm including those. Yeah.
All right. Man, that's so interesting, man.
But I don't listen. I'm telling you, but I don't like to.
You're not condoning. You're just telling your story.
And God knows, man. I don't brag about it. I do feel guilty, but a lot of them I don't, because a lot of them deserve the to get knocked out. But sometimes I hit people that I knew they couldn't fight. And I'm like, damn, I should have not hit them. I should have just smacked them. Yeah, But
that's so funny. Let's get back to Jimo. He is a legend in Brooklyn.
Yep.
Talk to me about how strict he was, what he would do. How was he as a trainer? What did he teach you specifically? What was his style of training?
Let me take a sip of water because I got a lot about Jimo. I got a lot of stories about Jimo.
Here we go. We got time.
Listen, Jimo was the type of man that. So aside from being a trainer, he was my father figure because I didn't have, remember, like my father left us when we were young, so I basically grew up single parent, and I didn't have a father figure. So my father figure would be people in the streets. So when I got into boxing, I was always with him. He was always taking me. So even if I wasn't fighting, if it was let's say for the Golden Gloves when I was younger and I wasn't old enough to go to the Golden Gloves, he used to take me to work with him, to be with him. Mm-hmm. Jimo not only was a trainer, he was a father figure. He actually helped me to get into the academy, because when I went into the academy back then, you needed to come up like with $800-900. Again, I was poor. I didn't have money. And he said, listen, I'm gonna buy this for you. I'm gonna buy you the gun. I'm gonna buy you your uniform. He paid for whatever I needed to get for the police academy. That's how good Jimo was. Whenever I was with him when I was young, he knew I didn't have money. He'll go like this. Here, he'll slip $20 in my hands. Here, take this. He'll give me 10. Like he was always trying to do the right thing for me. And he was always giving me advices, like, yo, do this, do that. Don't just focus on boxing. Because I'm like, I want to turn pro, I want to be a professional. Like, no, he goes, you got to finish school, you got to go to school. So he used to pick me up. Now, 12, 13, 14 years old. What 12, 13, 14-year-old wants to get up at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning to run? He used to come to my house, pick me up, he used to take me to Gershwin Junior High School on Linden, and to run at 5 o'clock in the morning. He used to come ring the bell, and my mother used to be pissed. She goes, you better get your ass up, because I didn't have a choice not to get up, because he said, if you don't get up, I'm just going to keep ringing the bell, and I'm going to ring everybody's bell until somebody comes up and open the door, because you're going to come out of it. Because he said he ain't coming from Starrett City to pick me up in East New York on Exit Street to go, to stand there for nothing. He used to come to my house, pick me up, ring the bell. If I didn't wake up, my mother would be like, you better get your ass up. And I had to get up and go run. He used to sit in, I never forget, he used to sit in his old Cadillac, drink his tea, and just had the high beams on the track, and I used to be running at 4 or 5 in the morning, doing 3-4 miles every day.
Wow.
Then from there he'll take me, and then he'll do like some pad work with me, depending on the temperature, on the weather. If it was too cold, then but if it was hot, he'll do pad work with me. He'll work me out. Then he'll drop me off home. He said, take a shower. He goes, I'm gonna grab something to eat. Then he goes, and I'm gonna take you to school. So he'll leave. He'll go grab something to eat, and then I'll take a shower, and he comes back, pick me up, take me to school.
Wow, this guy was more than just a trainer.
He would. Let me tell you, man.
And it was only like with you. He had a special.
Nah, he was like that with everyone. But he, obviously, me and him had a special bond. But like he always he used to tell everybody. He used to brag about me. This is what he goes, this man here. He goes, this man here. When I was older already, I was a cop. He goes, he's gonna be a chief one day. He actually wanted. So my goal in life was to get promoted just for him. So every time I got promoted, when I graduated, he was in my graduation. When I got promoted, he was in my promotion. He was like a happy father, man. I had him on all the pictures, man. I wish I would have brought the pictures I could show you, but I had him on all these pictures when I'm getting promoted. He was there. He was, he was like, this man was special. He was a special man. And he did that for everybody. Shannon Briggs. He did that for Monty Barrett. He was good like that. There was this other guy named Brian Mungo that he was a 165 Golden Glove champion. He didn't look the part, but he was knocking people out, man, left and right. But he used to do it for everybody. I mean, he was a good man, Jimmy.
How was his training style? Was he more of a IQ guy, more technical guy, more aggressive?
He's more of an IQ guy. Like he likes for you to.
He wants you to figure the fighter out.
He wants you to figure the fight out. He wants you to box, be smart. He used to always tell me, he goes, hit and don't get hit. That's what he used to tell me. But if he knew you could bang, he'll teach you how to bang. He was that type of guy that he would teach you how to bang. Like, he used to show me. We used to go to his house when I was younger. We used to watch Willie Pep. Remember Willie Pep?
Yeah, I know
We used to watch videos of Willie Pep. He always, because he knew I used to move a lot. I was so slick. They used to call me a matador because I used to move so much. So he wanted me to learn how to slip, slide, and do all the. We used to watch Pernell Winnaker. We used to watch Melton Taylor. All those guys back, like all those good boxers. We was always watching those guys, those videos. Sugar Ray Robinson, Muhammad Ali. Like sure, he used to love. He was big with the jab and body shots. So we was always watching those type of tape because he wanted me to be that type of style of fighter.
That's so interesting.
But he always it wasn't like he didn't just focus on one.
No, he wasn't a one-trick pony, but
his main thing was that he used to always tell me, listen, this was his favorite word. This is why I always get it when I used to pass it on to all my fighters. I used to tell them, listen, this here wasn't meant to get hit. Jimmy used to tell me this here wasn't meant to get hit. He goes, you hit and don't get hit. So that's how that's why he used to always box. So he used to go in there. So what he used to do was he used to get fighters like guys lighter than you. And then he'll put them in there. He'll have them throw punches at you, and then you move around and slip. You don't throw no punches. You just slipping, moving side to side. That's what he used to do with you.
That's so interesting. That's very interesting. You mentioned Shannon Briggs.
That's my boy, Shannon.
You got any interesting?
Let's go, champ.
Yeah, we got interesting Shannon Briggs stories.
I got a lot of great. Let me tell you a funny story about Shannon when he first walked into the gym in Starrett City. Never forget this day. This 16, 17-year-old tall kid comes in the gym talking shit. Bro, I mean, literally, he's like, came in, I'm the next champ, I'm knocking everybody. I'm like, what the fuck? I'm like, who the fuck is this guy?
Yo, he never changed.
The guy never boxed in his life. He just walked in the gym, but I thought he was a boxer the way he came in talking. Now, mind you, I've been there a few years now, and he walks in the gym. I'm knocking everybody out. Yeah, he goes, I'm gonna be the champ. And I'm like, what? And then all of a sudden he comes in, he starts training. So Jimmy O put him in there. Jimmy O took him on the, but Jimmy's like, shut up, you talk too much. But the guy, he's still, but that was him. He wanted to be the next Muhammad Ali. Mm-hmm. And then he started boxing. He was getting his ass kicked every day, getting dropped every day. But I used to watch him. I said, damn, but he got fucking talent. He used to get in the ring. He had the Muhammad Ali move because he was so intriguing being Muhammad Ali that he used to watch videos and he picked up on it how to do without even training. So he used to go in there. He's like, wow, doing all the Muhammad Ali stuff. And then I'm like, I used to watch him like, damn, I like this guy. And Jimmy O had in the gym when you come down the stairs. Right by the stairs there was a sofa, and people used to sit there and just when you were done training, you sit there and just watch You just watch everybody training. Mm-hmm. So I used to sit there and watch, and then he was good. But then he started training, and he took it serious. Then he started to get his ass kicked, and then he was getting dropped all the time. Never forget this, because I used to sit in that same couch. We all used to sit there. He comes and sits next to me. He goes, yo, so this is what Shannon said. And Shannon, I want Shannon to come here one day. But
Shannon, you got to come on the channel. Felipe said it.
But Shannon would tell you to this day, he always tell you. To this day, he'd tell everybody. He's like, yo, he goes, because this man, I'm still boxing. Because he said, yo, I'm quitting, man. He goes, I suck in this.
Because he kept getting beat up.
He was getting beat up. I said, no, Shannon, don't do it. And then I broke my story to him. When I first started boxing, my record was 1 win and 5 losses. That was my record when I started. Because I used to fight all experienced fighters. So I used to get my ass kicked, which was a good thing. Because you know what? Me learning how to beat these guys made me better. So I used to tell Shannon, my first 6 fights, I was 1 win and 5 losses. Then I went almost 2 years without losing. I was winning all my fights, all my tournaments. So I said, don't get frustrated, don't quit. And then, so I kind of motivated him into staying. And then look at him today.
He became heavyweight champion.
Bro, he was homeless. He had nowhere to stay. He used to come to my house. He used to stay in my house. He used to eat. My mother used to cook for us. He used to eat in my house. He always said, damn, man. He goes, your mother used to cook all that good food. My uncle used to pick us up sometimes, take us to the gym. Shannon and I used to go run. Let me tell you a funny story. So we go to Gershwin to run. Now we older, and we in at Gershwin Junior High School running. And then all of a sudden we did about 3 miles already, and we were exhausted. So now we're running from the gym, from the park back home. So we did all those miles. All of a sudden we see a mob of dudes. Get them! And they start rushing to jump us. Shannon and I had a sprint out of the track back home because we were gonna get jumped.
Why were they?
They were just gonna beat us up. A group of guys. They were jumping people in the street, and they started. And then Shannon goes, "Yo, Felipe, remember that day we got chased in the park after running 2 miles? We were already exhausted. Let me tell you, I was so scared. I wasn't even tired, bro. I started sprinting home.
Neither of you got caught?
Nah, neither one of us got caught, man.
That's funny, man. That's funny. Talk to me about winning the Golden Gloves, man. I'm from New York City. My brother competed in the Golden Gloves. You were one of his trainers. I unfortunately never competed in the Golden Gloves. We could get into that as to why I never competed in a bit. But talk to me about winning the Golden Gloves. What was that for you? Because I know that's a big deal in New York.
Absolutely, man. Let me tell you, when you're young and you're going, so Jimmy always taking me to all these Golden Glove shows, and you're watching all these guys fighting. So he used to take me, and I used to work the corners with me. He goes, you working the corners with me. And I used to be in the locker room with these guys. He'd rap. Let me tell you, that experience alone was great. And I'm like, now I'm setting myself up. So Jimmy always doing it for that same reason. He was setting me up for that because he knew eventually I was going to fight in the Golden Gloves. But when you're in the Junior Olympics and the Kid Gloves was the closest to the Golden Gloves. So in the summer, they used to have a tournament called the Kid Gloves, and the finals used to be outside the Felt Forum. So they used to close the street up and right across the street from the Felt Forum, and they had the finals right in front of the Felt Forum for the Kid Gloves for the younger kids.
The Felt Forum for everybody is the little room in Madison Square Garden.
I forgot. Yes, they changed the name.
It's the Hulu Theater.
The Hulu Theater. Yeah. So the Hulu Theater. So at the Garden, right at the Garden, but it was literally they used to take that 33rd Street or I forget what street. They used to close that street up right there,
and it would be outdoor fighting.
Out there, the Kid Gloves. So the Junior Olympics was indoors. The Kid Gloves was always outdoors. They used to be in the park. I used to love that tournament. You used to go out. You used to always travel different places, and it was always an outside show. So everybody used to come out and gather around.
Man, it's a shame. It's a shame that we don't have that now. There's no boxing gyms in New York. The rent is too expensive.
Let me tell you, I had the gym.
I remember,
and I was like, man, this is tough, and especially when you're trying to do the right thing for people.
Yeah. Well, let's not get too off track. How was that experience winning the Golden Gloves?
So now I turned 16. And now I'm ready to go in the Golden Gloves. Man, what an experience! Because remember, even though I had the experience as a JO, now I'm going into the bigger levels. And 16 years old, the guy I fought in the final was 28 years old. So just imagine me fighting a 28-year-old at 16.
Damn.
But you went. I went. So I was one of the favorites because I already had in history from the juniors. Winning the Junior Olympics, the kid gloves and stuff like that, and going to the nationals and the regionals and all that. So I already had my experience from the JO. So I had that advantage. They don't do that anymore. They changed that because a lot of kids were coming up and they were just beating up a lot of these older guys. But it wasn't fair. Sometimes, but then again, I'm a 16-year-old fighting a 28-year-old with a full man's power, and I didn't have that power. But let me tell you, when I won my first Golden Glove, man, that was the best feeling. But when I fought at the finals at Madison Square Garden at 16, my man, and they announced you the winner and they wrapped that Golden Glove in your neck. That's priceless, bro. I don't even have words to express the feeling of winning that, man. At 16 years old, winning a pair of Golden Gloves,
Wow.
It's sad. It's sad that it's gone.
It really is. It really is. And I don't know who to blame. I don't know what we got to do to bring it back. Just because it's gone don't mean it can't come back. But I think it's such a New York story. It's such a part of New York.
Listen,
that it's a shame we don't have it anymore. And I think it could come back, but it's just we need more boxes. We need more boxes.
I mean, listen, a lot of people came to the U.S. from different countries to fight and became citizens to fight in the Golden Glove. That's how big this tournament was.
Yeah.
I mean, Mark Breland winning it 5 years in a row. Riddick Bowe won it like 4 or 5 times. 4 times. I mean, you got all these good famous boxers, Shannon Briggs won the gloves.
Sugar Ray Robinson.
Sugar Ray Robinson.
All the way back. Sugar Ray Robinson, Zab Judah.
Zab Judah, man. I mean,
all those New York fighters.
It's sad because a lot of people train and you look up to this tournament every year, and then that was the tournament that you wanted to be in. And then from there you go to the National Golden Gloves, man. It's sad, man. But it was a great feeling, man. There was nothing better than stepping in the ring in Madison Square Garden and fighting, man. It felt like an actual professional fight, But
the guy who used to run the Golden Gloves recently, Brian Adams.
Brian Adams, that was my boy Brian Adams. We fought each other.
From what I understand, you guys had somewhat of a rivalry.
Yeah, we had a rivalry, and the crazy thing is that it was always me and him, like in the same weight division, and he was knocking everybody out, and then the only guy, he beat me twice. I got no shame.
You 0-2? You 0-2 against him?
I'm 0-2. I honestly feel that I beat him the first time I fought him. And I fought him in 92 in the finals of the Metropolitan Championships, and he got the win. I felt I won, but listen, it is what it is. At the time, he had a name. He was coming up and he was beating everybody. He was a national fighter, so he had a big name going. So, if you're not even though we I had a name, but I had taken off boxing for a little bit because when I joined the police academy, I kind of took off from boxing for a little bit. So then I came back and I took it serious again. But he beat me. I thought I beat him the first time, but he got it. And then he beat me in the finals of the Golden Gloves. He was going for his 3rd Golden Gloves at the same weight division. I was going for my 3rd Golden Gloves I was going to be the 2nd fighter in history to win 3 gloves in 3 different weight divisions.
Damn.
So yeah,
that was a big moment for both of you guys.
So it was big. It was big. When they were talking about it. Brian Adams, 3-time Golden Glove champion at 132. Felipe Gomez, he's going for his 3rd Golden Glove championship in a 3rd weight division. So yeah, he stopped me from setting history.
It's okay.
But that's my boy, man. Me and we get along. We to this day we stay in touch. We good friends. We never.
I remember seeing him in the gym.
It's funny because a lot of people don't. I hear a lot of people don't like him. They don't get along with him. But But me and him to this day, even though we were rivalry, we still get along, man. We got that good relationship. And he used to run. Then after that, he was running the Golden Gloves.
I remember.
He was the director of the Golden Gloves.
I remember. All right, now let's get back into kind of like your cop career and tie it in with boxing. So from what I understand, you was trying to go professional to make some money, but you at the same time you were pursuing being a police officer, and there was some conflict there. Can you tell me the story?
So now, after my negative experience with the police officer, I said, you know what, let me take the test. If you can't beat him, you join him. Let's take the police officer test and become a cop. I took the test, but they were taking forever to call me. So then I said, you know what? So I took the test, I passed. So I thought they were never going to call me, but in 92, early in 92, I got, maybe like towards the end of 91, I got called to start my process to become a police officer. So I go through the whole process. I was supposed to join the police department in 92, but I didn't get, so back then they were very strict. So because I missed one piece of paperwork, I missed the academy in June of 92. So I had to wait a whole year. So then I said, you know what? So I keep fighting as an amateur. I said, I'll wait to the police department. I fought in the Golden Gloves in 93. I won the gloves. I go to the Nationals. I made it far. I made it to like the semis in the National Golden Gloves. I come back. I said, you know what? They're not calling me. I was supposed to go in the police academy, supposedly. So the class was in June 92. I didn't go in. I missed that. So they said January of 93. They didn't put it in. Then they say February. They keep changing the date. Now they say June. Nothing happens. So I said, you know what? I come back from the Golden Gloves, from the National Golden Gloves. I said, I'm turning pro. Then I get the letter to join the police department in August of 93. I said, you know what? Shit, man. Let me wait. Let me just join the police department. Then when I get off probation, then I'll turn pro. And I figured, I already had a good following. So I said, if I join the police department, I'm gonna have a bigger following. So because I'm thinking business wise.
Yeah,
in the pros,
the policeman who's now also a
boxer, and then I want to have that crowd there.
Yeah,
I want
NYPD off duty.
When I fought in the Golden Gloves in the finals, every time I fought, I had a huge crowd. So I knew I was gonna have that same crowd. So when I turned pro, so I said, you know what, let me wait. So I said let me put the professional career on hold. Let me join the police department. I get to the police department. I do a few years. Now I decide I want to turn pro like in 97. I waited like 4 years. I got off probation. So when you're in the police department, I don't know how it is now, but back then you had to submit if you was going to make money, you had to submit for an off-duty employment. So because now I'm going to make money aside from the police department. So once you submit the off-duty employment, the police department will look at it. They will go through, they'll review it. They'll see if that job it's going to have any type of conflict with the police department. If it does, they'll deny you. They say, no, you can't do that. But if there's no conflict with the police department, they'll let you do the job. So I'm like, well, I'm turning pro. They got a PBA boxing team. I was part of the PBA boxing team. I fought for the police department for so many years. After joining the police department, I joined the PBA boxing team. We traveled all over the world. We went to Europe. We went everywhere. We traveled everywhere. We fought a bunch of different police departments. Unfortunately for me, I couldn't fight a police officer because with my experience, they didn't have cops with that experience. So they used to always get like one of the nationals fighters, and I always end up fighting some national fighters when I represented the police department. But long story short, now I say, so there shouldn't be any issues me turning pro because, they got a PBA, they got a boxing team. The police department got a boxing team, so everything should be good. I filed for the off-duty employment. I sent it in. Now I'm scheduled to fight. So I'm scheduled to fight like in, June or August, something like that. June, July, August, one of those months. I get the off-duty employment response back like a month before my pro debut. Now, mind you, I have sold 250 tickets for my fight, for my pro debut. So I'm looking at the letter that I get. It was sent to me at the office. I'm like looking at it. I'm like, what? It says, due to the fact that in the police department, there's a higher risk of a fighter. Due to the fact that in boxing, there's a high risk of a fighter getting injured. And because you wear no headgear, you have no headgear, and you wear smaller gloves, there's a risk of the person getting injured. And then if I'm a police officer, it could stop me from performing my official duties. I'm like, what? I said, yeah, I got denied turning pro. I'm like, well, you got a boxing team, Anyway, so I fought it. And when
you took it to court.
I hired, the police department actually gave me an attorney because it was through the police department. So I got an attorney assigned from from the PBA, which was my first mistake. I probably should have went outside the police department and got a real, not no disrespect to the police department, but when I say real, meaning somebody that's really going to go all out for me.
Somebody that is on your side and is in your best interest.
And it's going to be on my best interest. Fortunately with the PBA, they're going to have both parties' interests. So, So I ended up getting this PBA attorney. He dragged his feet. Years later, I ended up still losing the case. It actually went to the appellate division. That's how high it went. Wow. And they came back saying that I wasn't allowed to turn pro. Now I see all these cops turning pro. I'm like, wow. Wow.
I want change.
I'm like, what's going on here, NYPD? Why me? Because I always wonder where I would have been at right now if I would have turned pro. Because I was a good fighter. I consider myself. I thought I had enough talent to make it far.
You think you could have grabbed a belt or two?
Listen, I thought I was good enough to be in the mix. Absolutely, I thought I was good enough. And listen, and at the end of the day, I'm only gonna get better. I'm not gonna get any worse. And I was already a Golden Glove champion, national champion. All the guys I lost to were all named fighters, like Brian Adams had a name. Vivian Harris had won the Golden Gloves a couple of times. Who turned pro, who became a good professional. I fought this guy that beat me in the Golden Gloves one year. Jonathan Talaferro. I lost a split decision to him, and he ended up winning the whole tournament. He actually beat me and Brian Adams. He beat me in the semifinal, beat Brian Adams in the finals, and he ended up getting the outstanding fighter of the tournament. And right after that, he went to the national, won the national, got signed by Top Rank, a guy named Jonathan Talaferro. So I have fought all these big names back in the days. In the nationals, I fought big names like Terrence. What was his name? Terrence Corton, who won the silver medal in the Olympics. I fought Rock Allen, who they were twins that from Philly, who were all national champions and they made the Olympic teams. So I had all these big names under my belt. So I'm like, you know what? I know I'm gonna make it. I think I got a possibility of being up there. And unfortunately, I never got the opportunity to experience that professional career.
How much does that bother you? Like, when your pillow hits when your head hits the pillow at night, how much do you think like, damn, where would I been? Would I been a champion?
To this day, man. To this day, I always wonder. It bothers me, man. It sits right here. I'm like, oh man, I wonder where I would have been at, man. So I'm not gonna say that I regret doing it because again, I don't regret not taking the police department. The police department was a great job. I was treated well. I moved up in ranks. I did a lot of good stuff in the police department, and I was very grateful. And I'm not gonna say this again. I'm not gonna say that I regret it, but I always wonder where I would have been at. So yeah. So it sits here. It bothers me not to have the opportunity to turn pro.
Yeah. Okay. Well, you mentioned that you went pro. I mean, excuse me. You used to watch the policemen look over the police department. But you also mentioned that your sister would be right next to you, and she ended up becoming a cop too. How was that feeling?
So my sister. So we get older now. So we were young, and we were always with the two kids in the window, and all these cops saying hello to us. And we always wanted to be cops, but then we got older. So, now you get older, now you know responsibility. You got to move on, and you got to do real things now. So my sister went to college. She graduated. She got her degree in business administration, some stuff like that. But then she graduated. She's not getting a job. So she's like, I'm like, damn, sis, you should become a cop, man. I said, this was younger. No, stop, brother. I don't want to be a cop. That's not me. I'm like, come on, sis, you got to do it. And then finally, I kept insisting and pushing. So one day what I did was I filled out the application. And back then you had to pay like $30. You fill out the form. Then I came up to her. I said, here. She goes, what's that? I said, that's the police, the application signed. She goes, brother, stop. I'm not doing it. I said, you're going to sign it. So I made her sign it. I said, listen to me. I said, you got to have something to fall back on. Right now you're struggling. I said, you don't have a job. I said, you're working in a jewelry store at the time. And you're complaining that you're not making money. She goes, if you find something, then good. If not, at least have something to fall back on. Seal it up, send it. She gets the call. She starts the process. And then I never forget, she goes, brother, she goes, you're not going to believe this. She goes, but I got the letter to go to start the academy. I'm like, what? I said, you're going to do it? She goes, oh my God. She goes, I don't really want to do it, but I don't have a choice now. It's true what you said. I have nothing going on. She goes, I'm going to do it. And she became a cop, man. She became a cop, man. I was the most, You know, like when you're a parent, you proud of your kids. I was like a proud, brother, father figure for her because I was the oldest.
How much older were you than her?
Well, with her, we were just 10 months apart.
10 months apart. Wow.
We were like twins,
Okay.
but so I was 10 months older than her.
Okay.
But then I got the other two younger ones. But it was a great feeling because I used to I was like the father figure in the house because we didn't have a father around, so I was always overprotective with them, especially imagine me being a boxer and then being a cop and then having two sisters and
man,
so people were scared of me, they didn't want that's Felipe's sister, you don't want to mess with them,
Well, she gets into the police academy. Where were you assigned, and where was she assigned as far as?
So she starts the police. Unfortunately, she didn't do 20 years. So she got assigned to the 102 precinct, and
that's in Ozone Park.
In Ozone Park, yeah.
Okay, so not too far from East New York.
Not too far from East New York. So it's funny because I remember telling her, listen, I said, go to the academy, you graduate. I know so many people now because I was in the police. I was in the boxing team, so I met a lot of big bosses. So at the time, I said, "Listen, go graduate, do your time in the street. Do your probation, get off there, and then once you get off probation, or once you're done with the street probation, basically you don't." I said, "I help you get into something inside because I have enough, pull to be able to make some phone calls,
like an office job,
to get an office job because she didn't want to be a street cop." The crazy thing is that when after she was on probation, and I said, "Listen," I said, "You ready to move?" I said, I got somewhere you could go. She goes, "No, brother, I like the street. I like patrol." She goes, I like Ozone Park. I'm just gonna stay in patrol, and I'm gonna be a regular street cop." I'm like, "What?" I was shocked, and she became a street cop, man. But unfortunately, she passed away, in a car accident, so she didn't have too many years, in the police department. So. It's sad, because I know she would have went far in the police department. She was like me. She was like very friendly. She was trying to make a difference, and she would have. I always say to this, like I always say, she probably would have been a chief right now, a captain, inspector, or a chief right now. That's how motivated she always was as a person,
Yeah. No. Well, I was gonna get to that. So unfortunately, there was a moment where it was a very rainy day, and she was driving upstate New York.
Upstate. So she was always the type of person that was always like looking out for people.
Okay.
She was very helpful. She always was trying to do good things. Anyway, but so she wanted to shop. It's crazy how things happen because she wanted to shop early. She wanted to do like Christmas shopping early. So she decided that she was gonna go upstate shopping. She told my mother, she said, let's go shopping for Christmas, and I want to get it done early. It's weird how this is now, because now we're gonna hit is the 14th is her death anniversary of this month, December 14th.
Wow.
So 2 days, today's the 12th, right? So 2 days, today's the 11th. So in a couple of days, is her Saturday is her death anniversary. Mm-hmm. But she tells my mother, let's go shopping. Now she wanted to get the Christmas shopping done early. So my mother said, all right. So now she tells my aunt, and she had a son, a 5-year-old son who was tremendously gifted as a 5-year-old. Since he was 2 years old, I have videos of him training him in boxing. His name was Edwin Rosario. I used to call him Chapito.
Wow.
The kid was so talented. As a little kid, he used to walk around. I used to give him my golden gloves, the gloves that they gave me from the Golden Gloves that I won. But the one that I used for the finals, he used to put it, he used to wear it, and he used to come up to his shoulder. He used to walk around with some trunks. I had a USA a trunk. He used to walk around with no shirt. 2 years old, 3 years old. This I used to do, walk around, and he used to throw punches. That kid was tremendously talented. So at the time, he was in school. So my sisters always tell my aunt who lived in the second floor, listen, do you mind grabbing my son? Because, he's gonna get out of school early, whatever. She's like, yeah, because she was always getting stuck at work. That day, she told my aunt, I said, listen, she goes, can you get him out of school? And she's like, no. She goes, she said, yeah, I get it. She goes, you know what? She goes, you know what, Thea, forget him. I'll get him. I'll just take him with me. She goes, no, don't worry. She goes, no. You know what? She goes, I'm always stuck, sticking you with them. You know, you always got to go pick them up, doing me favors. She goes, I'm going to take them. She goes, one day that I take them out of school is not going to kill them. That's her exact words. One day that I take them, never forget my aunt telling me, she goes, her exact word was, one day I take him out of school is not going to kill him. He's never absent. She took him out of school. She goes, she's driving. My mother's on the passenger side. He's in the back. And she lost control. My mother said that it was icy because it was in December. It was early in the morning, so usually around, when upstate it's always icy.
Yeah.
So she had one of the old Oldsmobile that the steering wheel was very light. So my mother said that she must I guess at one point she turned around to look back to see, because my nephew was in the back, but he was falling asleep. He was always hanging on the seatbelt.
Yeah.
So she kept looking back.
Turning back to like put his head back.
So at one point she turned back to look, I guess, but then it was so slippery that the car started slipping and it just started swerving side to side. It went off the road, slammed into a tree, and her and my nephew passed away instantly.
Man, that's okay.
Sorry, bro.
No, you don't gotta apologize. You gotta apologize. It's tough, man. And
sorry about that, brother.
No, you don't gotta apologize, brother. This is serious stuff, man. This is serious stuff. You making me cry. It's okay. It's okay, man.
It's tough because it's around that time now, And, you want to be strong, for your mother, because my mother was in a car accident. And miraculously,
she sustained any injuries?
Miraculously, she survived that car.
But no broken arm, leg?
She has severe injuries. She has multiple surgeries, but, she still has complications to this day from that. But
how tough was that on your mental?
Oh, it was tough because, so now mind you, she's a newly cop, man. She was just getting her life together. She was a good person. And then she was just trying to do something good. She was going shopping, trying to do something positive. But these are stuff that happens in life. You got good people like that to help motivate you to do positive things, in life. So I always use her as like my motivation. Her, Jimo, because these are people that passed away in my life that made a difference. And I use Jimo and I use my sister as the motivation to keep going,
How many years on the job did she have when she passed
She
away?
only had like a year and a half, not even 2 years,
Wow.
But, it's like 2 years, man. But, she was just getting her life together. Everybody at work loved her. Never forget when I, because they picked me up at work. They didn't want to tell me what it was. I mean, they said, they actually did break down eventually, said, listen, she was in a bad car accident. So I never forget, a highway unit guy went to pick me up at work, and I was in court at that time. And they picked me up, and they take me to the precinct, and everybody was outside. And I'm looking, I'm like, damn. I said, everybody's outside for a car accident? So I'm like, now I start getting a little worried, But then, because nobody wanted to tell me anything, because they knew, how close me and her were.
Yeah.
And so when I get into the precinct, so I'm looking, everybody putting their head down. Nobody wanted to look at me. Nobody in the precinct wanted to give me that they didn't want to look at my face because I guess they knew. And then I get in, and then the inspector, I never forget that day, man. Like, the inspector just put his hands on my shoulder, said, listen, I hate to tell you this, but your sister passed away. And then he broke the news and your nephew also passed away. So I'm like, what? So he said, but listen, he goes, you got to be strong. He goes, because your mother was in the car as well. He goes, so he said, so you got to be strong for your mother. She's alive, so she's fighting it, Because they actually, when they cut out of the car, my mother was bad. They said they lost her, and they revived her. So, for her to be here now, it's crazy,
Yeah. And
But
and you mentioned that you had to be strong for your mother and you had to be strong for the family and all that. But like you hurting too. How tough was it to stay strong?
It was tough
while having that.
Listen, I don't know how to this day. Look, this happened in 1998, my brother, December 14th of 1998, and it still hits me like it happened yesterday. You know, so it's tough, man. But you know, I always use her. She's like I always say that those are my guardian angels. Her, my nephew, Jimo. You know, so I use that as a motivation. You know, they were good people, and then I always feel that they give me that will and power to be able to go out and be a good person and try to be good to people. You know, so that's why I was always trying to make a difference in boxing because of Jimmy. You know, because and then with the police department, my sister too, you know, she was so good that people loved her. I mean, everybody was devastated in the precinct, in the 102 precinct. And I mean, I never forget this. My one of my old bosses, she was a lieutenant at the time. She didn't, you know, she didn't really know me, but she wasn't, you know, so like I'm not saying that she wasn't, because she was friendly, but she wasn't as friendly with me. I guess because she didn't know me, right? So I'm standing in front of her, and I got my hat. So in my hat, I had the picture of my sister and my nephew. You know that. So I have it like this, and she's sitting on the table, right, on the desk, writing something. She turns around, she goes like this. She goes, and then she looks at me. Then she looks back down. Then she goes like this. And then I'm like, oh. I said, I guess she knows my sister. And she got up and she gave me a hug. She goes, oh my God, I didn't put 2 and 2 together. She goes, Anna. She goes, I love Anna. Anna was, we worked together in the 102. So it's crazy how, you know, like you meet people and then everybody had great things to say about him. And that place, the church, the priest, when the priest was doing the homily, he said, I never seen a church this packed in my life. He goes, so it goes to show what type of person she was, you know? I mean, everywhere. It was so packed, there was no seats available. People were standing in the back, and there was people outside standing outside. That's how many people went to the funeral, to the mass for her, you know?
Man, it's...
But sorry about that, brother.
No,
you know,
you don't gotta apologize, man.
It's tough, you know, when I talk about it. I don't like talking about it because of that, you know, because... You know, it's
opening up an old.
Yeah.
We can move on. No, it's not a problem.
But you know, but she was a good person, man. She was great, and she was also a boxer. She also fought.
Really?
Oh, I need. Let me go back.
Yeah, let's go into that.
So I used to. I got old videos of me training her to box because she used to go to the gym and she loved boxing, and she competed. She actually her first loss in the Golden Gloves was against, what's this girl's name? Patricia Alcivar. Patricia Alcivar she won the Golden Gloves numerous times and was a national champion. But my sister, I never forget, you know, I was away in the nationals, and I was in the national Golden Gloves while she was fighting Patricia Alcivar in the semifinals. And, you know, she ended up, you know, unfortunately losing to Patricia, but she was a good boxer. She fought in the Golden Gloves. But then, unfortunately, you know, she started late, and then unfortunately she passed away. So she didn't get to pursue it, you know. But she would have been a bad, because she was one of the first girls when they first approved the female boxing in the Golden Gloves. Oh, so she was one of the first boxers from that time.
That's dope. Yeah. So she was a part of history in some way. Yeah. God rest her soul, and God rest your nephew's soul as well.
Thank you.
Yeah, let's transition out of that. Now you're done boxing. Let's fast forward. Well, you want to tell any cop stories, or you want to go into owning the gym first? Yeah, let's get a couple cops. So give me 2 or 3 fun arrests that you made, and tell me a couple cop stories.
Let's So I mean, I without getting too crazy into too many details, you know, because again, you know, this is stuff that I'm not supposed to be putting out there, but also it can endanger me, you know. But,
okay, well, nothing's gonna endanger you. But please don't.
But you know, I was an undercover as a police officer. So you know, imagine growing up in East New York, being a cop. You know, I mean, being a street thug. You know, I say street thug because when you grew up in Brooklyn, when you grew up in East New York, you gotta have that in you. You gotta have that thug in you. You gotta have that. you can't walk the street, survive the street if you're not tough. Yeah. And back then, going through all that, you got to be tough. So I feel like, growing up, and I grew up around all these thugs. I'm like, I said, I had that experience. So I'm like, what, I got that street knowledge. I said, let me, so I put it to work as a cop. I mean, obviously, I wasn't that experienced when it comes to certain things like when I with narcotics, but I knew I had that gift of gab. I knew how to talk shit, and I knew how to talk a good game, and be able to. So so I was in Undercover. So I could tell you a couple of stories. I don't want to get without going into too much detail. I'll probably tell like 2 or 3 funny ones. Okay. So I'll give you one funny story that when I was in Undercover, I went and I went to buy heroin from this guy, and he looks at me. He goes, "You don't look like a dope head, heroin guy." So I'm like, back then the street slang was dope. I said, "You don't look like a dope head." I said, he goes, "Let me see your track marks." And then I'm like, so then back then I used to walk around because, you got to fit in the block. And I was, but anyway, so I walked around the streets, and then, so the guy I had no shirts. Right? I had no shirt. I was cut up because I was boxing, so I was all ripped up. So I walked around with shorts and no shirt on, and I walk around. The guy's like, "You go, let me see your track marks." I'm like, "So I don't have track marks because I don't shoot it up." I said, "I sniff it." So that's how they'll sell it to me. So, a couple of guys fall for it, but other guys like, "Yeah, you're gonna sniff it in front of me." "All right, no problem." I said, "So I'll buy it. Then I'll put it in my pocket." He goes, "Sniff it." I said, "No." I said, "You give me the bag and I'll sniff it." Now I know they're not gonna give me the bag because that's how they make their money. I said, "You give me the bag, then I'll sniff it." "Sniff that one." I'm like, "No, you give me the bag, then I'll sniff it." And then all of a sudden you're like, "Give me my bag back." I'm like, "I ain't giving you shit back." So now they start chasing me because now they want to get their bag back, and I'm running, and I'm like, "Move in." I'm like telling the field team to move in, and I got a guy, one of the field team out there watching this, but, I got those little funny ones that when you're in the street.
That's hilarious.
But, I had a, when you out there in the street, you got to be smart, because these guys, they pick up, they know. I remember I was doing a case. And I remember being inside the apartment, and this gentleman says, "Yeah," he goes, and there's a bunch of people in there, and I'm the undercover buying, some, certain amount of,
a good amount,
a good amount. So he says, "Yeah, I know a cop when I see one," and I'm like, "Oh shit, yeah." I said, "You do?" I said, "Yo, you gotta let me know, man, because I don't want to get busted one day." I said, "You gotta tell me what I gotta look for. What is it?" He goes, "Nah, you're gonna know a cop when he's this, he's that." He's telling me all this stuff, and I'm looking at him. I said, "If you only knew, my man, who you're talking to." But yeah, that was one of the guys that ended up getting bagged up too.
Do you know how much time that guy got?
Yeah, it's over 5-7 years. Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, it was a big one. That was a big one. And then we had some 15 years, 10 years.
Okay.
There was one specific one where I did a buy, and then I went to the Dominican Republic, and he paid bail, got out, and took a flight to the Dominican Republic. And when I was over there, I decided to go to a club with your guys. And who do I run into? If not my my wanted guy from the New York City, Doug. And now he's looking at me, and I'm looking at him, and I'm like, fuck, I'm done here. So I had to go up to the guy and play it up. I'm like, "Hey, yo, what's up, bro? Where you been at?" He goes, "Yeah." I said, "Yo, you disappeared, you cut your phone off." He goes, "Yeah." He goes, "You know what happened." I'm like, "Nah." I said, "I don't know what happened. You tell me what happened." He goes, "I got arrested." I'm like, "What?" I said, "No, man. How you got arrested? What happened?" He goes, "Yeah, I sold to an undercover." I'm like, "What?" I said, "Get out of here." I said, "What undercover?" He goes, "You know what undercover." So I'm like, now I'm like, I gotta play, I gotta continue playing this shit off. Cause now he's suspecting it was me, but he's suspecting it's me. So now I gotta somehow try to convince him that it's not me. So he's like, he goes, "You know who was the undercover?" I'm like, "Nah, I don't know. Tell me who it is, bro." I said, "Cause I'm still in the mix." I said, I'm with all my boys over here, and we still in the mix. I don't want to get caught up and get caught up with one of these undercovers. I said, "If I know him, just in case." He goes, "It was you." So I'm like, "What?" I said, "It was me." I said, "Bro." So then I had to get that thuggish out there, and I had to play that role. I'm like, "Yo, don't ever disrespect me like that. I don't like cops. I hate cops." She's like, well, if it wasn't you, it had to be some guy from New Jersey. I said, but I don't understand, man. I was selling to that guy for a while, man. I don't know how I just got busted now with him. But anyway, yeah. These are the stuff that you got to worry about when you know.
That's a crazy story, man.
But, you know, I went ahead, did my job as an undercover, and I got out as fast as I could because, you know, it's not really safe to be doing that, you know.
Wow.
No, but, you know, after you're married, you got kids, you know, you're like, you know, cause let me tell you this another story. I'll tell you what was one of the thoughts behind it and why I tell you that it's not a smart thing to do, or I didn't think it was a smart thing for me to do when I was doing it at the time. I'm buying from these Jamaicans, right? I'm buying pounds of marijuana. Back then, it was, you know, they sent it. They was cutting them. I was buying in blocks, and so the guy's questioning me. So I'm like, man, this guy's questioning me. Like, you know, I'm locked in. So I gotta respond and answer all his questions correctly. If not, I'm gonna have some issues. So he's like asking me all these crazy questions and going back and forth, and I'm answering him. But now I'm in a room with like 3-4 Jamaicans. They got guns. And I'm like, I'm like in there, locked in an apartment. I'm like, if they find out I'm an undercover and they decide to kill me, I'm done. They're not going to find me. I was like in the second, third floor. They had these metal steel doors with this metal bar that was holding the door. I said, if the field team moves in, they're going to have a hard time getting in there. And I'm saying to myself, so while they questioning me, because now he's asking me all these crazy shit about, you know, who I know, how I do this, where I work. So I'm saying to myself, as I'm answering, I'm saying, Jesus Christ, why did I do this? Why did I decide to do this shit? I said, why am I here? I got a wife and a kid at home. I said, that loves me. I said, they're gonna kill me here. They're gonna rob me. You know, if they think I'm a cop, they're gonna kill me. If they think or if they want to rob me, they're gonna just rob me and kill me and take the money. I said, why am I doing this? You know, but this is the shit that goes.
How'd you get out of that situation?
You know, the guy liked me. He made me strip down. I'm like, what the? I said, what are you doing? He goes, strip down. He wanted to make sure I didn't have wires. I'm like, but that day I told my boss, I said, listen, I don't want to go in with a wire. I said, I don't want to go in with a gun. I said, because in case they something like this would happen, it sure shit happened, bro.
Wow.
You know, so you imagine I would have stripped down and they would have saw that.
They would have saw a wire hanging with the little box on the side, and oh man, that would have been bad for you. It would have been bad.
Yeah, but it was some good experience. But then let me tell you one final story where one of my highlights from I did a lot of good stuff, right? Because once I got out of narcotics, I became then I got promoted, I became a sergeant, and I ran this unit called Borough Crime. We was always out there looking, we were focusing on all the high crimes, like, guns, robberies, burglaries, all the major crimes, felony assaults. So I'm gonna tell you two stories. I'm just gonna tell you this one first. The one story that always stands out. This is the reason why I wanted to become a cop, and this is where I wanted to make a difference. So when me and my partner my partner's driving, I'm a sergeant, he's driving me. So we coming down a block, and then next thing you know, we see two guys walking with this is like 2 a.m, walking the street, going through a purse. So me and him looked at each other like, why are these guys going through a purse? 2 guys. I said, so from experience, we figured, these guys, they just robbed somebody. Yeah. So we stop. I said, he goes, should we run up to? I said, no, stop here. I said, and they started looking back. So I said, damn. I said, they're looking at us. So I said, all right, just start driving up a little slow, and once we get closer, we will jump out. And then I guess they knew, they ran. So we started go. So they actually, so we got out, we ran after them. They take off. So my partner stays on him. He's like on him, but then I'm falling behind because now I'm watching the van. I'm like, damn, I don't want to leave the van unattended now. I don't want somebody to come and steal the car. Mm-hmm. So I go back, I get the car, I drive up, and then I get so then when I caught up to my driver, he was like, yo, they got away. So he get in the car. So now we driving around canvassing, looking for the guys. But right before we even start canvassing, I see this lady going like this. She's running, and she's bleeding from her face. She goes, excuse me. She goes, those guys you were just chasing, they just robbed me. It was a Spanish lady. Now listen to this crazy story. So So I said, get in the car. I said, so we start canvassing the area. So I put it over. I said, we had a robbery. I said, we're looking for whatever. We give the description over. So we canvassing the area, and we're about to quit already because we can't find. So while we're canvassing, the lady is telling us her story. Yeah, I just came out of work. I got out of the bus. One guy grabbed me from the back. He's choking me and he's punching me. And but they had a gun and they had a box cutter. So he had a box cutter on her neck. The other guy had a gun.
Jeez.
And they hitting her with the butt of the gun in the face. They broke her cheekbone, her nose. She was all messed up. So she goes. They took my bag and she had a little chain just like this. She goes. They were trying to take this chain. She had it in her hand like this. It was broken. So she had the medallion holding here, and she had the chain hanging. Mm-hmm. She goes. But they were trying to take this, but I didn't let them take this. I said, why? I said, what? I said, they would have killed you for that. She goes, no. She goes, you don't understand. She goes, this is my son's chain that he passed away. I said, oh, I'm sorry to hear that. I said, how he passed? So I said, but this is why everything going on. She's telling us the story. She goes, I said, why? But listen, I said, is it that sentimental? She goes, listen. She goes, my son got killed for this same exact chain. What she said? Wow. She said her son got killed for that same exact chain. So she said that she goes, they tried to rob him. And he held the chain, and they killed him, and they took off. They couldn't take it away from him. Wow. So she wears it for protection, and that's why she didn't want to release. That's why she didn't want to release the chain.
Wow.
Let me tell you something crazy about that. That it gave me chills. So then we finally grabbed the guy. So when we drove up, she's telling me now I'm like motivated, and I'm like, oh man, that hurt. So now my sister passed away. So this chain, and I don't know if you see the medallion.
I can see it.
The medallion is my sister, my nephew, and this chain is my nephew's chain.
Wow.
So just imagine what she's telling me, and I have the same sentimental chain on my neck. So I took it personal,
And you found this motherfucker.
We got to this. So there was this one dude smoking a cigarette. And I said, listen, you see two guys, he goes, running around here, and he goes like this. And he pointed to an abandoned building. So I called aviation, the K9. Long story short, we found them, we got them. One guy they both were arrested over 60-something times combined. It was 30-something, one guy 30 for robbery, same thing. But that was one of my highlights in my career that I loved. That we
God bless you, man. God bless you. Those are stories that us civilians, us people that are not criminals, that are not cops, that we like to hear, man. And protecting the neighborhood like that.
And and people don't understand
that's a bad guy.
These are guys that out there that how you've been arrested 30-something times. What are you doing in the street? You shouldn't be out in the street, and you're committing the same stuff again. So now they got locked up for robbery, and they beat this lady up bad. And now they got to finish serving their time because they owe time, and now they're gonna finish serving plus on top of what they got. Then my last cop story. So we assigned to this one area searching, looking for there's people committing robberies, and now they were doing robberies for the holidays. So we get assigned to that one area. So, me and my partner are driving up again, the same guy. We're driving up, and then we see a group of guys on the building. There's a marked vehicle because we had unmarked vehicles. So there's a marked vehicle on the other side of the light, and he's waiting. And he was waiting for the light. So when the guy saw the cops, he went over there. He's like this. He turned around and started adjusting his waistband. I guess pushing whatever which from experience, we're in a bad area. It was he was adjusting his gun. And then when the cops then my partner says, he goes, Sarge, we jump on? I said, no, not yet. Let's wait to see what happens. Let's see if the cops stop, then we'll help them. If not, then we just we'll jump on our own. So the cops then they kept going. They missed it. Then a guy came out walking. He's looking like this, like looking at the cops as they're driving by. But then we jumped on the sidewalk, and when he saw us, he ran. He took off. We chased him. We start chasing him. Again, I stay behind. My partner gets into a building. He loses him in the building. So now I come back out. So I'm like, I said, so I'm calling him, Cisco, where you at? And he wasn't answering. So then I'll go upstairs. So now I lower my radio because now I'm going inside the building because I didn't want him to hear me. So I go in, I lower my radio, and I go in to the lobby. Then there were 2 doors, one door here, and then there's another door to go into the lobby. And then some guy opened the door, and I see him coming out. And when he sees me, he runs right back in, and he goes into the building. Runs. I don't know if you're familiar with Left Rack City.
I am.
Those buildings in the basement, they all connect. All those buildings connect. I didn't know this at the time. So he was in the building, and so I start running, chasing him. And as he's running, he's going like this, like going into his waistband and looking back. I said, so I already know that he got the gun. So I'm like, I don't want to. So but I had, prior to lowering the radio, I heard my partner saying that we were chasing a guy because somebody said, is everything all right out there? So my partner said, listen, we're chasing a guy with a gun. So anyway, so they said, but I lost him. But now I'm chasing him. So he's going like this, and he's stopping, and I'm saying, don't do it. So anyway, he gets out, come out, but I'm staying on time because I was still in good shape. I was working. I was still training, working. I had the gym at the time, as a matter of fact. I was still,
wow.
So I was still, so this happened in 2000. Actually, no, it was before I got the gym. So then it was in 2005, 2006, around there.
Yeah.
So now, he goes up, he get into this garage, he gets out the building, up to the garage, and as I'm going up, he's looking back, and I'm going up, and he's looking back, and I'm like, don't do it, bro. So he went into it's crazy how this happened, because I'm gonna tell you what I felt. So when I get up the stairs, he's on by where the garage is at, the open garage where all the cars parked. I come across, and now I got my gun like this, because now I'm coming, I'm coming up blind. And he's there going like this, and then he turns and he pulls out the gun, turns around, he goes to shoot me. Luckily, I was quick enough, and I went like this. I kind of went sideways, pop, and I shot him twice. So I thought I hit him here. Well, it looks like I hit him here. He dropped, he fell, and then he drops the gun. So then I put it over, shots fired, get a bus, so we get an ambulance forthwith. We got a male, I shot male pulled out a gun, I shot a male, whatever. All of a sudden, he's like, he's trying to grab the gun again. I'm like, so I went up, scooped up the gun, put it in my waistband. I got on top of him, cuffed him. So I end up, crazy thing is that prior to that, is how they say that you have these senses and things happen, everything goes in slow motion. Let me tell you what happened to me. When I went like this, when I'm up, all this happened within seconds. I went like this, I went up, and when I saw the gun, I felt like a weird feeling through my body. And you know what I saw? I saw a vision of my wife, with my daughter, and with my older daughter and my 2 daughters and my son looking down like on a cemetery.
Wow.
At that split moment, and then I just shot. When I saw that, I shot right away. And then I'm like, what, my man?
Where did you end up shooting him?
So now he goes to the hospital. They take me to the hospital, because my head is all messed up.
Yeah.
So now one of the investigators comes to me and says, one of the delegates comes to me and said, listen to me, Felipe. He goes, how many times you shot this guy? I said, I believe I remember shooting twice. He goes, oh, you sure? Because you did everything right. The perpetrator was an honest perp, and he said that he pulled out the gun on you, so you had every right to shoot him. So you're covered 100%. I said, so if you shot him more than once, more than twice, it's good. So I said, okay, then I remember pulling the trigger twice. I guess maybe because of the reaction, maybe I shot more than that, because he had 5 wounds. So then a while later, after surgery and everything, they come back to me. Oh, listen, you're good. You did shoot 2 times. I'm like, oh, okay. So he goes, yeah, he had 5 wounds. The first bullet hit his thigh on the right, exited, hit the second thigh, and exited. So one bullet went in and out 4 times, and then the second bullet hit his kneecap. So it shattered his kneecap.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So yeah, those and I got one of the highest award for that. I got the Medal of Valor.
Wow.
I'm not proud.
No, hey, listen.
But it's
cop work.
But it's people don't realize that I was out there also risking my life. You know, I was out there putting my life on the line. You know,
to protect the city of New York.
But you know, I was taking bad people off the streets, man. At the end of the day,
man, that's
you want to hear a funny story?
Sure, yeah.
It'll be short. I was in Starrett City. Now I remember because I was in Starrett City Boxing Club. Will Rosinski, I was training Will Rosinski that day. Will Rosinski said to me, so we were talking about, remember that time when at that time there was a big shooting, Sean Bell got shot?
Yes.
So we were all in the gym talking about that. And then Will was like, well, let me ask you a question. If it was you, how many times you would have shot? I said, listen, well, everybody reacts differently. I said, I can't tell you how many times I would have shot because at that moment, you would just react. Yeah. So I can't tell you how many times I would shoot. I said, you know, I would say once or twice, but I don't know. So he goes, all right. And as I'm leaving, I swear to God, and you can ask Will, that same Friday morning that I was training Will, I was leaving the gym to go to work. And Will says to me, all right, listen, he goes, don't go get into a shooting today. And that same night, I got into that shooting.
Wow. Bro, there's a lot of like prophetic things that happen in your life,
man. That's why I tell you, my life is weird sometimes. I'll be like, man, I've been through so many crazy stuff, man. I'll be like,
yo, listen, we don't got much time left, but I want to get into you opening the gym, and I want to talk about two specific fighters. So first, if you could quickly tell me how you got into opening that gym in Ozone Park. That gym to me means, I wish I could tell you how much that gym meant to me, man.
Yeah.
That gym meant a lot to me and my brother. Like my brother, me and my brother, we got a lot of love for you. Talk to me why you opened that gym, and I want to get into the story of Juan Dominguez and Miguel Mata. So, but first, talk to me why you opened the gym and why that area.
So, you know, I mean, Kevin and I, my partner, that he's also a retired cop. You know, he used to follow me in all my boxing career, and then he got involved with boxing. He became officials at one point, and then you know, he knew that boxing had saved me. So I used to tell him stories about how the gym saved me, how Jimo saved me, and I was always a motivator. I was always talking to people, trying to motivate them to do stuff in life. You know, like, nah, you know, do this, do that. Anyway. So one day we said, you know what, let's just open up a boxing gym. Because now, you know, at the time I wanted to have that was my dream, having my own gym. So I said, you know what, let me open up my own gym. So we started looking. I said, but I want in Queens. I want in the Queens area. So we opened up in Ozone Park. We found that place in Ozone Park. And then Kevin and I opened it up. We spent a shitload of money in that place. $65,000 to redo that whole place up, bro. No, between all of us. Will was involved too. It was me, it was Kevin, Will, and me. But then Will decided he wanted to step away. It was too much, and then he had became a EMS. He was going to school, became EMS, and then became a fireman. So it was too much. Yeah. Kevin was retired, and I was already retiring. So you know, it was actually working out perfectly. But you know, I did it more because of that, because I wanted to be that Jimmy. I wanted to be Jimmy to, like you said, like I made a difference in you. I made it because I know a lot of guys to this day call me and they tell me and Kevin how we made a big difference in their life. I wanted to be Jimmy. I wanted to be that person to make that difference.
So that's why you opened it.
That's why I opened up the gym, and you know, and there were people that couldn't afford it to pay it at all, and we were like, all right, you could stay in the gym you could train for free, because we knew they're you know, and then we. You know, obviously, we still had to maintain the gym.
No,
it was costing us $3,500 a month.
Of course.
And not counting all the rent, not just counting all the other expenses. You know, so you know, we had to come up. You know, we had to pay, and then so then on top of that, then we said, you know, once and then from having fighters, having Will, and having guys, I was having a hard time putting guys on shows, on professional boxing cards, and promoters wanted the guys that was going to sell a lot of tickets. So I said, you know what? I said, let me start building up fighters in the gym, and because then I started getting some decent fighters. I said, let me build them up, get them on cards, and then Kevin and I decided, you know what, let's start doing shows, because we couldn't get them on professional cards because promoters didn't want to put them on. You know, it was costing them money. So Kevin and I said, let's get our license. We become promoters and matchmake. We'll do it ourselves. So we started off with amateur shows, And then we built it into doing professional shows. We started New Legend Boxing. So we had New Legend Boxing gym. Then we started New Legend Boxing promotion. We did the promotions. Yeah. We started at the small venue on Jamaica in 92nd, 98th Street. I forget the name of the venue. And then we got that big contract.
Flor de Lis.
No, it wasn't Flor. It was close to Flor de Lis. I forget the name of the. Cordon Bleu.
Cordon Bleu. Yeah.
And then we got into the Resorts World Casino. We opened the doors there for everybody. That's when. And then after us, once we stopped doing the shows, everybody started coming in. Lou DeBella, 50 Cent. 50 Cent did a show then when he had a promoter's license.
Yeah.
And then we started putting our own guys on those shows.
And speaking of that, the reason why I say, the only reason I'm sitting here is because of you. You were the first person to ever give me a writing gig. And I wrote for your website, I remember. And I remember it was one article I wrote and you were like, nah, you'd making too many jokes in the story. I went, rewrote it, sent it back. You kind of was liking it. And I remember you were a big part of my development. So I just want to say thank you for the opportunity. And just know that opportunity you gave me, it's brought me to here and I'm doing my thing. I'm making moves. You didn't just waste your time with me. Is what I'm trying to say.
Listen, I'm happy that this is working out for you. You deserve that opportunity. You always liked writing. I always saw that, and I was always my goal in life was that if we ever made it big in boxing, that you was gonna be our writer. You was gonna be our guy doing that. We had a lot of talents in there because a lot of guys from that gym end up becoming cops, nurse, correctional officer, firemen. Emergencies. They worked for the ambulance. They became EMS. So we had a lot of guys that did a lot, and we had guys doing a lot of positive stuff there, and people that were taking videos. So I wanted to have my own team there.
Nah, man, and we all flourishing. That's all that matters.
Absolutely.
Obviously, maybe some of us disconnected, but we all doing our own thing. And as far as everybody who I know that went to that gym is doing okay for themselves. Yes. But I wanted to transition into somebody who unfortunately had a lot of talent and got into some bad situation. Miguel Mata, he was a trainer. He was a fighter under your tutelage. He was a Golden Glove fighter. He ended up losing, I believe, in the semifinals the year I was training with you. And this kid was very talented, very dedicated, smart kid, but he also was a gang member. He was a member of the Trinitarios, which those who don't know are a Dominican gang, and he got into a situation where you want to tell the story instead?
Yeah, so I mean, and you know what? It's unfortunate because I didn't know that he was a Trinitario. I didn't know he was a gang member.
You know what's unfortunate? I know, and I'm older now. I'm in my 30s, so I regret it now because I'm a grown man. But at the time, I looked at it like I'm not no snitch. Why I'm gonna tell his business to a cop, and now I'm getting him involved. But me now in my 30s, I would be saving this kid's life just by maybe you wouldn't even have taken. You would have just get him away. You would have just showed him a way to get out of it.
Get out of it.
But my idea was like, if I tell you, you're gonna get him arrested. Yeah. That was my thinking at the time.
And it's understandable because a lot of guys didn't, even though that they were there and they liked us. A lot of people didn't trust us. Like, oh, you guys are cops. You guys, So it was like, But a lot of people was afraid of saying stuff.
So I'll say the story. So he got into a situation where he was involved in a shootout, and within the shootout, the wife of the Saudi Arabian prime minister or something like that.
It was like a politician. Or
like a diplomat's wife.
Diplomat's wife.
Got shot in the process. He ends up getting arrested, getting 7 years, and deported out of the country.
Yes.
Talk to me how talented he was, and how much did your heart break when you found out he was a gang member and he was involved in such crime?
So these are the stories that or the situations that we want to get involved with, that we wanted at the time get involved with, and because that's what saved me. Boxing saved me, took me out of the streets. If I wasn't boxing, I would have been. I don't know where. If I could tell you right now, I probably wouldn't even be. I would have not been here right now.
You would have been in jail.
I would have been in jail, dead, or hanging out in the streets. I'll be honest, because I was growing up around thugs. So and I was at one point I'm like I wanted to get involved, and so boxing saved my life, and I say I have to be able to save people's lives. So this kid had natural talent.
Oh, he was so good,
He
man.
was tall, skinny, lanky, but he had a punch, and he was dropping people in the gym left and right.
I remember.
And and then it was sad, man, because I didn't know he was a gang member. Like I said, if I would have known, I would have tried to talk him out of not joining or getting out of it and staying in the gym, because I knew he was messing up somehow, because he was losing fights that he was supposed to lose. And that's because he was in training properly. He was hanging out, maybe staying out late. But, there was fights that he would lose that he shouldn't have been losing. And he didn't lose, man. He lost like maybe one or two fights at top.
What's unfortunate? Like a week before he got into that shooting, he told me, he's like, because he wanted to get out. He was like, yo, bro, but getting out isn't as easy as just putting you in your 2 weeks notice, But he said that one of the rules in the Trinitarios is that if you fix your life and you're doing something positive and you want to leave, that they'll let you go. That they actually So he said that he was gonna have a meeting with like a higher up, and he was gonna explain to him that he wanted to get out because he was pursuing boxing. Yeah. And I was like, yo, and once he told me that, I was like, yo, that's the route to go, bro. That's the route to go. I think that's what you should do. And he's like, yo, next week we're gonna meet. It's like on Saturday, and then. Yeah, I don't remember when it was, but let's say it was Thursday. I have no idea. Yo, the next day, boom, I'm like, yo, what the hell?
Yeah. And that's when I heard that, I couldn't believe it. I was like, wait, who? Miguel? What? Miguel?
Like Miguel Mata? You sure we talking about the same guy?
That was my exact word. Because I didn't think Miguel. He didn't look the type.
He didn't look like he had it in him.
And he was quiet. He didn't look the type. But,
respectful, nice.
Yes. It broke my heart, man, because he threw his whole life away, man.
Yeah, and he got deported, and you were trying to get him back into boxing.
I was trying to get him back into boxing over there. I put him in contact with one of my boys that's over there. He was training. He actually fought a couple of fights, but unfortunately, in the Dominican Republic, it's a little tougher than here. So, he has to survive. He has to work to survive. And unfortunately, he quit boxing again. So he's working, trying to.
Do you know what he does for a living now?
I'm not sure what he's doing. Okay. I haven't talked to him for a minute, but I got to stay in touch with him.
Yeah, man.
Because I used to stay in touch with him. I was still, just because he. Listen, I mean. I'm not gonna stop talking to you because you did something like that, or because at the end of the day, you still were a good kid. You was good to me. You respected me, and I respected you. So I'm still gonna stay in touch with you. Yeah,
no. When he got out of jail, me and him, we spoke a few times, and it was always positive. But I never ran into him. I haven't been to the times I've been to DR. I've been with family, and I haven't reached out. But I definitely. When I'm out there, hopefully, I could get a studio out there and I could get him in for an interview, because he was a cool kid, and man, I want to know more about him. Man. All right, lastly, I want to talk about, so I'm the voice of Dominican boxing. You at one point was investing in Dominican boxing with Juan Dominguez, who was a really, really good 118-pounder?
118, 22-pounder, yeah. 22 mostly.
I remember he was the first person I ever met at New Legend. I remember I went, I signed up, I did the paperwork, I spoke with you, I spoke with Kevin, and then I was walking to the bathroom to change or something, and he stopped me. And he was like, oh, tú eres Dominicano? I was like, yeah. He asked me, yo, you Dominican? I was like, yeah. He's like, yo, my name is Juan Dominguez. And he told me, yo, I used to be signed to Winky Wright. I was like, what?
Yeah.
So we started talking, and he was like, yo, bro, if you ever need anything as far as learning how to punch, learning how to move your head, he goes, yo, don't hesitate to ask me, And I was just like, wow, this is a good kid. Yeah. I like this gym already. So he was the first person I ever met. Talk to me about how much talent you saw in him and what happened at the end of his career where you guys kind of fell apart.
Yeah, so I mean, he was tremendously talented. He had a big punch. Listen, in boxing,
the body shots was crazy.
In boxing, if you can punch, you're gonna go far. So that's people don't like getting hit. So if you could punch, you always got that knockout chance of winning. And he had a tremendous body. He was known for that body shot. And it was crazy because I was known for the body shot as an amateur. I used to always drop people in the gyms. And every time I fought, I was dropping people with body shots. So he had that left uppercut that I used to love.
Bro, it was nasty.
That left body hook, man. And so, we at the time he was stuck with a contract. And, he asked me, yo, Felipe, please help me out. Get me out of this contract. And, we we worked something out. We got him out of the contract, and then we started. Then Kevin and I decided to, he's a pro now. At the time he was like 4-0, something like that, 3-0. I forget what it was. So I'm like, and then he had fought. He was with Winky Wright. He had fought in some good cards. I'm like, damn, man, And I knew Juan from the amateurs. He was a good he was a good fighter.
He beat Claudio Marrero in the amateurs.
Yeah, and he beat Claudio. But then, what's crazy? He lost. I never thought he lost to Joselito Collado, man. And Joselito was a 2-time Golden Glove champion. Joselito had beat one of my other 4-time Golden Glove champion that I had. Joselito had beat him in one of the tournaments previously. But I know Juan. I said, yo, this kid is talented. He's gonna go far. I told Kevin, I said, listen, man, we gotta sign this kid. He can punch for a small guy. I said he's gonna go far. And then he's Dominican. I'm like, let's help him out. I'm Dominican. I want to help my Dominican because my goal was to help a lot of Dominicans, like you doing now. That was my goal back in the day.
You imagine you had me like who I am now back then? Woo!
My goal was to help out a lot of Dominican fighters. And because back then they were getting screwed, man. They were
100%.
They were signing these kids and bringing them over and using them, and make people, and the managers or the people bringing them over were just making money out of them. I didn't want to be that person. I wanted to go out, help them out and show them that, you can make money. You could be, so Kevin and I invested, we started investing money in them, building them up. We signed them, started building them up. Came a time where the contract was close to the end. And he was unhappy with the contract because one promoter that was associated with us, without getting into any detail with that, but, he was just unhappy with that one promoter. So he said, "Oh, Felipe, once it's over, I will resign with you." I said,
"But just you, not him."
But just with your company." And then I said, "All right." So we let him. We had the extensions that we could have used, but I didn't want to do that because I liked him and I knew I thought he was gonna sign with me. But anyway, long story short, he ended up we released him. And then when the time came to sign him again, he said, "Oh, let me shop around." And I don't put fault. I don't blame him because also, there's other people from the outside that will probably put stuff in his ears. "Oh, you should do this. You go here. You should do that." And so they kind of convinced him into shopping around. So he ended up signing with Al Heyman. And I ended up, on the losing end. Kevin and I invested a lot of money. Hundreds of thousands of dollars. Without getting into any specific amount, but it was over.
It was a good amount of money.
It was in the hundreds, and
more than 100.
Oh, of course,
so two, 3.
Without getting into details.
So I'm just saying more than 2.
But but listen, let me put it to you this way. We helped them out every month, and then we also were paying. The opponents was costing us a lot of money. So,
I got you. Yeah,
so they would, even though we weren't giving him a big purse, but the opponent was getting a big purse, 15, 20,000, to fight him because I'm bringing guys from Mexico, I'm bringing guys from Colombia, I'm bringing guys from different countries, and it's costing us a lot of money.
So there was a moment now where you working for DeBella and you guys end up meeting.
Yeah, man. So listen, and the crazy shit is that I love Juan Dominguez to death. So I was hurt. I was hurt when I wasn't working with him anymore. So then a time came where I got hired by Lou to work with Lou DeBella, and he hired me as his matchmaker. So I started working for him. Kevin and I were working for Lou DeBella. I was matchmaking the cards, and then Lou had Jennifer Vicente. Now, mind you, when I had Juan, I got many calls for him to fight Jennifer. I'm like, no, why are we gonna fight Jennifer Vicente? He's Dominican. Why should we find another Dominican guy? And I never let it happen. And so anyway, but now Juan signed with Al Heyman, and I guess they forced him to take a fight with Jennifer Vicente. But now I'm representing Jennifer Vicente because I'm working with Lou DeBella, So. It was sad because that night, it was an ugly night, and
but for the people watching, Jennifer Vicente ends up knocking Juan Dominguez out cold.
I was shocked, man. Everybody was shocked, because it wasn't supposed to end that way, and then it happened. But instead of me going, so you can see the type of person that I am. Instead of me going out and celebrating with Jennifer Vicente team, they were all celebrating going out. I said no, I'm not. I'm going to the hospital too with Juan, and me and Kevin, we actually ended up in the hospital, and we stayed in the hospital until he got so they let him out until he was, because that's the type of person that I am. I'm like, that's the love that I have for Juan. I still have the love for him. It's sad that unfortunately he tried to pick up his career, but I don't know what was going on. I have no idea why. He fought a few times in the DR trying to get going, but I don't know what happened. I have no idea what happened.
It just kind of derailed from there, and then he didn't. Nobody was invested in him.
But I had a lot of. I worked. And what people don't know, I started off a lot of Dominican fighters, man. And I'm not gonna get into details because I don't want to start. Because I'm not that type of person to have social media wars. Because once I start naming stuff, and this goes on social media, they're all gonna start, and I don't want to start. But I started off a lot of Dominicans, and I actually helped out a lot of Dominicans from not getting robbed and how to. So. And I don't get I'm not asking for credit, but it's messed up that a lot of these people don't give me my credit. How I started, I did visas for a lot. There was guys doing visas for fighters and bringing them up and using them to steal their money. I was doing visas the right way for the right reason, to bring them over, to build them up, and to do, so I did visas for a lot of Dominican fighters, and I brought them over. There's some names up there that I did visas for that they up there, but I don't, I'm not.
You don't want to mention them.
I don't want to mention that.
All right. Well, listen, I can stay here another 5 hours.
And I didn't even realize how long we went. Jeez.
And be okay with, I would not have problems. Unfortunately, we're out of time. I don't want it to end. This won't be your last time here. I'm telling you. Wait. Hold on. This is not your last time here. Let's get that on camera. I'm telling him he has to come here again.
People better hope I don't quit boxing. That's all I got to say. Let me tell you, I'm going to go in hard, bro. Because I've been done dirty, man, in this business, bro.
That'll be another interview. But also there's other stuff about your life that I want to get into that are really, really interesting.
You know what I forgot to tell you, man? I don't want to take no more time because I know we went. But I forgot to tell you one story that really stood out in my life, man, that really hurt me when I was young, that I was telling you. Remember I was telling you when I was young that I used to get bullied and all that? I forgot to tell you the story when our first Christmas that was it was a good Christmas that we got that we got a lot of gifts at the time. Our house burned down 3 days later after Christmas. It was all over the news. The house collapsed. Everything got burnt. Our house got burned. The one that was next to the precinct on Access. Burned down. The house next door caught on fire, but then our house was attached to that one, so I was caught on fire as well. I was a young kid, never forget. It was pitch black in the apartment. So we lived in a 3-family house. My mother, we were in the second floor. My mother said, she goes, ve arriba, Felipe, ve arriba, levanta la gente de arriba. So I went upstairs and I'm banging on the door. I'm a little kid. I'm
8 years old.
8, 9, 10, somewhere around there. It was in the late 80s. So I had to be over 10. So it was like early 80s around. It was 80, 83.
You were 12, 13, yeah.
And I'm knocking on the door, right? And then so the guy goes, "Oh, he comes up. What's going on?" I said, "Listen, the house is on fire." So then he looked, he saw the smoke. So I saved that man's life. That guy was knocked out. I had no idea. I was banging.
What time of day was this?
This is my mother woke up around 6, 7 o'clock in the morning.
Wow.
So we get out. The house is burning down. We outside, and I'm a little kid crying. All my toys got burned, bro. The first good Christmas. And this one dude that was a gang member walked behind. He was walking. Never forget this day, bro. He said, "That's what you get for." He goes, "Ha ha! That's what you get for Christmas." Oh, my man! I turn around. Imagine being a 10, 12, 11-year-old kid, and you turn around, you hear those words. You just got your first good Christmas.
It got a house burned and a house burned down.
And he said, I'm like, man, but God is good. I always say, things happen for a reason. But I'm not saying that I was happy, that I'm happy. But the guy ended up becoming a crackhead or like a junkie, okay. and he ended up dying, overdosing himself. Wow. Years later,
Yeah.
But that was one. Those are that specific thing there, man, destroyed my life. That's when I was having all those crazy thoughts, man.
Yeah. Man, listen, you're gonna come again, and we're gonna share more of these stories. But Felipe, thank you so much. Not just
thank
for
you.
the interview, for everything you've done for me in my life. And man, I truly appreciate you, and I consider you more than just a guest here. You're a friend. You're a mentor.
We always stay in touch, man.
Yeah, always. We last a little bit of time not talking. You call me, and it's back to like we just saw each other yesterday, man. Thank you, man.
Thank you, man.
You're a
Thank
good
you for having
friend,
me.
man. You're a good man.
My brother, thank you for having me here, man. I appreciate it,
Thank
brother.
you.